EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Wednesday edition of Birds 365. It's Thanksgiving week, everybody. This will be our last full show until after Thanksgiving. So we'll have no full show tomorrow. So for those who check in tomorrow morning, we will do, I think we're going to do, John, like an hour special where I'll do you for 30 minutes, maybe, and Sills for 30 minutes. But it will not be 8 to 10 a.m. We will crank out just some minor things here, get something up on the channel for all the people to get the updates on the Eagles, and then we will do.
I don't know how many of I'm going to be remote, so just to let you know.
Oh, today you're remote?
No. I'm going to be in Lancaster tomorrow.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll text about it
Yeah.
All right. Well, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Appreciate everybody being here. It's a Thanksgiving week. I hope everybody has a nice, beautiful Thanksgiving. It's Edge Rusher Day here, Johnny Mac, on Birds 365. Brandon Graham goes down, and the Eagles start throwing darts. What do we know about the people that were brought in? A couple guys with some production, but who knows what they'll be for the Eagles. What'd you make of the moves that the Eagles made yesterday?
Actions speak louder than words. I asked Nick in his virtual press conference about, if he's comfortable with what's left. Because remember, it's not only Brandon Graham, that's the biggest one, but it's also Bryce Huff. So multiple injuries at the position. And he said, as you would expect, that he was confident with Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt and what they had in-house, but how he would overturn every rock to try to get better. And the Eagles claimed Charles Harris on waivers from the Carolina Panthers. Veteran guy could probably hold you down, get you some snaps. First round pick way back in 2017. Never lived up to that billing, obviously. His best year was in Detroit, 2021, 7.5 sacks. It's back before the Lions were the Lions that we know now. And he was playing a little bit in Carolina because DJ Wanham was hurt. DJ Wanham came back, and they waived him when they claimed a different player from Minnesota. And the Eagles got him, and which is not necessarily an indication that it's a big deal, because when the Eagles claim a player, they're very low on the wire. So that means a bunch of teams passed Charles Harris on there. So it's not even necessarily like they think they're going to get the player. So they'll bring him in, take a look, and certainly they've done that already with Teron Jackson. They brought him back on the practice squad. They signed O'Shawn Mathis to the practice squad. They made it official with KJ Henry to the practice squad. They worked out Malik Reed, who has a history of with Vic Fangio. So they are going to roll through these players and see if anybody can help them. And the more dart throws you have, the better chance you have to hit the bullseye. But yeah, Harris is going to get the most notable because he's played before. They claimed him. But again, they're so low on the waiver wire. The Eagles claim players in there, could be they don't even expect to get them. Now, in this indication, they may have expected to get him. So you never know. But it could be Charles House, could be Teron Jackson, could be KJ Henry, O'Shawn Mathis, Malik Reed. They might bring him in. It's not a good situation.
No, it's not. It's one of the biggest things that the Eagles fans, obviously the team has to keep their eye on here, because, John, this is what we talk about. This is football. You get to after Thanksgiving, and it becomes no longer just about the X's and the O's and even really the Jimmies and the Joes. It's about the war of attrition, and it becomes a big part of the game. And you keep using that Doug Peterson line, which I keep hearing that line replay in my head. It's not about one injury. It's about multiple injuries at the same position. And even when you lose a guy who's been unproductive like Bryce Huff, it has a big effect. Now, Charles Harris, the guy that the Eagles claimed yesterday off waivers, he's having an okay season. I know he's in Carolina. He's had 3 sacks this year. He's got 21 tackles. He's got 19.5 sacks in his career pretty. I mean, his career dates back to
First round
2017.
pick, by the way.
Yeah, so he's a severely
That's not good.
underperforming
That's
for a
not
first
good.
round pick. But John, we are at a point where we need a guy who can play snaps. Like literally, we need a guy who can play snaps. I think he can be that just based on looking at the stats. I don't know a whole lot about the player. Is that fair to assume he's going to get some reps here with the limited players they have at that position?
As I said, I don't think he's a veteran, so he's ahead from that standpoint. He's played obviously in the past, pretty significantly compared to the other guys. So if you got to roll somebody out quickly, I still think Teron Jackson's probably your best chance because he knows the system. He's been here in the past and now he's back. So that's number one. He would be number two, because he's played significant playing time in the NFL before to get you 10, 15 snaps in a particular game. But yeah, I mean, stats are so meaningless when it comes to edge rushers. 3 sacks on Carolina. I mean, Carolina's the worst team in football. They released him. He's tied for their lead in sacks, I believe. If you look at the number PFF, there's 114 edge rushers this year, played enough to be ranked. He's 100. Not playing at a high level.
Yeah.
You don't go on waivers if you're playing at a high level, especially.
I mean, look, that was the first question. People were like, "Oh, he's got 3 sacks this year." I'm like, "Okay, then why was he released?" Right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially on a bad football team.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, he's a veteran player. He knows how to play. He can give you some snaps. Are they going to be effective snaps? Probably not. Are they going to embarrass you? Probably not. And maybe that's the best you can hope for.
Yeah, I think we are at a point here with this position, though, where we're going to need a guy who can do that. It doesn't have to be the most productive in the world, but we need a guy who can go out there and at least fill the void that is there right now. A lot of eyes, John, set on Nolan Smith now and Jalen Hunt, but mainly Nolan Smith, who was.
Yeah, and I think too many pass over the second part of that. I really do, because most of it's on Nolan Smith, no question about it. But even if Nolan Smith performs, they need Jalen Hunt to perform too. Because Josh Sweat, we've already seen Josh Sweat, very good player, but he wore down with a career high snaps last year. And if that starts ramping up, you might have a similar situation. Nolan's never played major snaps, and he might have to now.
Right.
And with his size, that could become a problem. So you're going to need Jalen Hunt to take significant reps. That's why, Brandon clearly was playing better than Bryce Up, but the Bryce Up injury is big as well because now you need 2 players to step up. And arguably 3. And at least Nolan Smith has the talent to perhaps do it. Jalen Hunt, we don't know. It's sort of an unfinished, maybe throw him in the deep end of the pool and he's great. And, but there's the alternative as well, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And again, you see all the darts that Howie Roseman is collecting, just trying to find somebody to give him 15 snaps maybe in a game.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. A Wednesday edition of Birds 365. Moving right along, everybody. Getting ready for Week 13 in the NFL. Thanksgiving, a couple of games on Thanksgiving, I think 3. And then there's also a Black Friday game.
That Black Friday game ain't going to be a good one.
No, what is it? Chiefs and Raiders? Yeah, Chiefs and Raiders. Not too good there. And then you got the Cowboys and the Giants. Oh, my goodness. On Thanksgiving. So, but there's some other good games on this weekend. Again, happy Thanksgiving. Thanks everybody for being in here this morning. I want to give an update. Our jersey winner yesterday. Now, John, the rule is, if you don't know, the rule is I picked a winner in the wheel, the random winner, and they have 24 hours to claim the prize. Everybody to this point has claimed the prize.
Uh-oh.
Well, our winner yesterday has not claimed the prize yet. So will there be another drawing if we get to 10 a.m. and the jersey is
Ooh,
not claimed?
that's a bad job by that
I hate
winner.
to say it, Nello was our winner, but you're out of here. So we will do that, and I will be monitoring that. So stay tuned to all of our members. We could be doing a new drawing for the
It's a
jersey
busy
giveaway.
week, man. It's a busy week.
I know,
Thanksgiving, people got a
look,
lot of things to do.
yeah, I don't know. I almost feel bad for him, but listen, the rules were the rules, and they were established, and he's might be missing out. We will see. He's still got an hour and 46 minutes. We will see.
I feel bad for him now, but yeah, rules are rules.
Yeah, rules are rules. I hate to do it to you, Nello, but the rules are the rules. I want to thank everybody for being here. Make sure you guys hit that like button. We have a good show planned. We'll have Mike Gill and we'll have Brandon Lee Gowton in hour number 2. So Mike Gill coming up in about 5 minutes. Good stuff there. Johnny Mac, I think Jalix Hunt is ready to at least – I know we haven't seen much from him, and I know he's a project player, but I've been – I don't want to say pleasantly surprised, but I don't think he's been as bad as we expected in terms of we thought he was going to be a total project. He's been out there. He's made a couple plays. He had the strip sack, the one game, and now he's going to have a way increased role. Now the question is his body prepared for it? I'm not sure about that. Going from Houston Christian to the NFL is no small feat, but we will see what ends up happening there.
Yeah, a lot of unknown with Jalix Hunt.
Yeah, that's the
obviously
problem.
he's got physical gifts. You know, I brought it up in that Dallas game. I thought it was interesting that, you know, Vic Fangio put him in there as a run defender. We're all talking about him as a pass rusher. And again, whether you want to talk about Vic Fangio looking at players and he sees something else, and he held up pretty well in that game with, I think he had played 25 snaps, something of that nature, but it was all early downs, first and second down. So, yeah, that's a big we'll see. He's got talent. There's no doubt about that. He's ahead of the game from an edge, run support standpoint, ironically, probably behind the game as a pass rusher. Needs to develop that complementary move to better help his equipment. And he admitted that. He said, you know, I can hold down the edge when all I add to my bag, his pass rushing bag, he meant, any other guys can do it. Now, at the time, Brandon Graham was still healthy and Bryce Hupp was still playing minimal snaps, but, you know, because of his injury, but he was still playing snaps. Now it's a whole different ball game. He's got to help as a run support player and a pass rusher. And he's played, I'll look it up real quick, a total of 66 snaps on the season, defensive snaps. So, you know, yeah, the Eagles have played 11 games. I'm not, math is not my strong suit, but I can tell you that's 6 snaps a game. That ain't a lot.
Right.
And most of them are in one game. So a lot of unknown with Jalix Hunt.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening there. And then the other guy, obviously, is Nolan Smith, first-round pick last year. I think he was, what, 30th or 31st overall?
30th
pick
overall
in the draft. So, you know, I was out on Nolan a little bit earlier in the year where I'm like, boy, I don't see it. But he started to show some things, John. He's going to have a bigger role to be able to showcase what he can do. You think he's able to step up to the challenge, at least to some extent? I'm not expecting the same production as what Brandon Graham was giving, but just an extent where it's not a major liability. Do you think that could happen or what?
I don't know. I'm most concerned about, you know, his size and holding up, because he's going to have to play more. You know, he's played quite a bit. I mean, Brandon's played 311 snaps. Nolan's played 299, so they're both in the same realm. But now, because of what's happened and because, you know, the uptick, Josh Sweat's got to go up. Everybody's got to go up. Jalix, we talked about. Nolan, we talked about. And hopefully you can find that fourth guy. But But in theory, the top three are going to have to go up pretty significantly. And then the aspect is like teams are worried about Brandon Graham more than they're worried about Nolan Smith. And they don't, at this stage, and hopefully Nolan changes that, teams aren't game planning for him. Now that they know he's going to be out there, they might start game planning for him.
And then your life comes a little harder when they're game planning for you.
And this is a week where you're going to have the best running game you're going to face by a wide margin. And, they happen to have a 240. It's funny how the NFL works, man. Right when you're having an issue, it seems like your next opponent can take advantage of that issue. And at least on paper, you can't set the edge. Baltimore's going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and it's hard to set the edge when you're that size. We will see how it all plays out. Should be good to see. And John, this is a two-sided problem. It's a multi-sided problem. But the two main sides are, one, you got to replace the production, which we just talked about extensively. Who's with Jalix and Nolan and Charles Harris and whoever else the Eagles throw at the dartboard. I'm also worried about Josh Sweat because he's your number one edge. Last year, he struggled with a major increase in snaps. Now you don't have major rotation, and you're getting into that later half of the year. Is he going to have too many snaps? Is he going to be less productive? Because, I think Josh Sweat's a great player, but remember, he had that catastrophic injury early in his career. I think he's better off on a more limited snap role. Do you think this will affect him a lot?
Well, we're going to see. The Eagles have done a good job. Josh has had a very good season, and they've done a good job handling his workload. And now it's going to have to go up. And you mentioned last year, and he went from his career high was 694. And then he went to 875. That's a big leap. And right now, he's at 429, and they were back in the 650, 700 range. And he's performing at a high level. And if you have to go up to that level he was playing at in 2023, where he wore down, that could be a concern. But hey, Josh is a good player. I don't worry about Josh. He might not get the credit, and you're muted.
Yeah, I'm just worried because it's all on him now, John. It's like, hey, man, we need you to be as productive as three players, for crying out loud.
And even last year, I thought his he slowed down from a sack standpoint. And that's all anybody looks about. We talk about with Charles. Well, he's got 3 sacks. Well, who cares? Chris Long talks about that all the time. What are they? Did you walk into them? Is it because of Jalen Carter? There's a lot of context to each individual sack. Sometimes they're real, sometimes they're not. Josh Sweat by far had a career high in hurries and pressures and things like that. He had a very good season last year. And he'll continue to play well. But do they have the people in support?
Right.
That's the question. I don't worry about Josh Sweat a little bit.
Well, good. I'm happy to hear that. Good stuff there. Thanks, everybody, for being here this morning. Pile Driver Outdoors checks in and says, tell BG I'll donate my triceps. I ain't effing around. How you going to do that when you're holding that big fish, Pile Driver? You need that tricep, my friend, but BG will take it. Now, John, we did an honorary jersey yesterday. We did a main jersey. We did a main jersey for Saquon, and because Saquon went off so much, I felt the need to do something. And instead of giving away another Saquon jersey, which, by the way, are sold out everywhere because the dude just keeps going off, the NFL shop just keeps selling them. We gave away a BG jersey to someone who was present, and Pile Driver was our winner. So, Pile Driver, congrats on your win, man. Thanks for being back in here on Birds 365. Let's get to our commercial break. I want to thank everybody again for being here. Hit that like button. We'll be right back in 3 minutes with the great Mike Gill coming up next on Birds 365.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
We noticed that there was mold creeping into our basement about a year and a half ago, and wanted to make sure that we were getting rid of the problem permanently. We actually reached out to several different contractors to get it resolved, and actually 2 of them recommended DryTech to us as a long-term solution. Other than the noise factor, we wouldn't even know that there was work being done on the basement level. It's really been a clean process for us.
Score and save this football season on your car insurance. Before the next game, save up to 40% on your auto insurance policy. That's right, 40% savings. Call an Audible this season and contact the Del Val Insurance Group. They're an advocate for you, not an insurance company. That means they'll get you the right coverage and save you up to 40%. Call managing partners Fran or Jim of Del Val Insurance, 215-354-0122, or score and save at dvigi.com. dvigi.com.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to Birds 365, a Wednesday edition here on Thanksgiving week. We're thankful for Mike Gill for joining the show today. Mike, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Doing all right, boys. How are you?
Good, Mike. First question, can you play edge rusher?
Not anymore.
The Eagles are throwing a bunch of darts, Mike Gill. How confident are you in bringing in a bunch of Charles Harris on waivers, Teron Jackson, O'Shawn Mathis, KJ Henry on the practice squad, working out Malik Reed? What does it tell you about the philosophy of the Eagles? Nick Sirianni, I asked him the question, are you comfortable, losing multiple people at this position? He's a coach. He's got to say what he's got to say. He feels good with the guys in the building. Then they're looking at everybody in the world outside the building. What does that tell Mike Gill?
Well, it tells you they're not very confident with what they have, and they are going to basically have a open tryout to take snaps possibly as early as this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised, if Charles Harris is playing 10, 15 snaps, because they just, there's a lack of bodies in there, and there's a lack of guys that really have a lot of experience. I mean, Jalen Hunt really has not played all that much. And I think the intention when they drafted him in the 3rd round was he would probably use this as kind of a redshirt year, not be thrown in to basically replace the most important edge rusher that this team has as you're going for the #1 seed. So it appears that they are going to have a in-season open tryout to try to replace the most important edge rusher that they have or had up to this date.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Mike, we are getting to a point in the year, though, outside the edge rusher, because, boy, it's a tough one to talk about. But this team just keeps dominating teams, Mike, physically too much for teams to handle. And now it's no longer like, okay, you did it to a couple, crappy teams. You're now doing it you did it to the Commanders. You did it to the Rams. How much you like what you're seeing from this team? How much confidence do you have that this team is now a real legit Super Bowl contender this year?
Well, it has to be considered a real legit one because there's not a lot of real legit ones. That's one of the things. The league just does not have – when you're trying to put your Power 5 top 5 rankings together, you're having tough time figuring out who's 4, who's 5, if you even like the top 3. I mean, Kansas City is a flimsy 3 that I think people are just giving them the benefit of the doubt right now because of their resume and who they are. But yeah, you have to like Philadelphia, the way that the rookies have grown and how fast they have made an impact. You get a rookie, sometimes they flash and it's like the inconsistency shows. These guys have been consistent almost week in and week out. Well, Mitchell just doesn't get beat. DeJean is a huge reason of why this thing all works, in my opinion, is because he tackles in a league that likes to throw the ball short, let guys catch the ball, make moves, get up the field. He tackles you. He'll let you catch the ball. But you saw Cooper Kupp. He had, 8 catches for 60 yards. I mean, that's not the name of the game in today's NFL. You're trying to get big plays, and he's kind of getting 7 yards down the field. And I think Cooper's tackling ability has really changed the dynamics of the defense. Mitchell's ability to basically take somebody out of a game. And then, the linebackers. We always try to figure, what are the linebackers' roles in what makes this defense work or not work? You're seeing them not be a problem. You're not seeing a lot of missed tackles. You're going to get missed tackles, but they make the tackle. They pick their spots on when to kind of send some pressure. So it's all, and I would imagine the defense is going to continue to get better as they continue to get a better and better feel for each other and the communication. Last year, we saw such communication breakdowns in the secondary. There was a report out there that, some of the secondary members weren't even talking to the coordinators, and it was just a disaster. And you saw guys running free and open all over the place last year. Much better communication with the secondary and the linebacking units this year. So I would think the defense is only going to continue to get better, but that Brandon Graham loss, we'll see how big of an effect it has, because it was all working because they were in concert with what they had. Now you're throwing a new guy possibly into that mix.
Right.
And we'll see how big of an effect that has.
Real quick, just to follow up, Mike, you brought up the 2 rookies. Boy, have they been good. Any fear of the rookie wall coming up? This is kind of the time of the year that happens. You saw it even happen last year a little bit with Jalen Carter. Any fears of that with the 2 rookies who are playing big right now?
I mean, I guess you got to think about it. Yeah, I mean, these guys playing a lot of games. Although it feels like in college football, they're playing more and more games too. I mean, the season now is in college football. I think the national championship this year is almost the last week or the second week of January.
Well, only if you're good, Mike. They play that long.
That's true.
The good teams are going to be playing more games than ever. But, if you're just on a mediocre team, whatever, you're done. This is it. Your weekends, you're done. And then you have a bowl game, maybe if you get the bowl eligible, but this is it for college. So
yeah, especially for Quinion, he did not play at a Power 5 school, so heck, he's playing on Sundays. He's probably used to be more playing on Tuesday or Wednesday and some action for him. But you got to think about it, obviously, with all these guys. But man, Quinion Mitchell has been. It's amazing when you say the other team has, Terry McLaurin, or they have CD Lamb, and they have Jamar Chase, and you're kind of like, okay, well, let's see the matchup, as opposed to being completely like, that's a loss. They're going to carve you up. You're more interested in actually, okay, let's see these 2 guys. He's going to get his, but that has not happened with a lot of these guys. That's how good he's been.
Yeah, that's how good the defense has been. And I mean, let's face it, they're a heavy zone team, so that helps. And I think, they the communication is what has impressed me the most on the back seven. You know, you mentioned they can get better. I don't know how they can get better, Mike. Can we expect better? This is the number 1 ranked defense. They're 7th against the run, 3rd against the pass, 6th in points per game, 3rd and 3rd down defense, 5th in red zone defense.
Well, I'll tell you where they could get better. And if they do get to that point, they are going to be really scary, is starting to turn some of these secondary plays into turnovers. They're not getting a ton of interceptions. You know, Blankenship has a couple key ones late in the game. But if they start to get there and they're starting to get, you know, some picks in the middle of these games, that could really change. They got that turnover early in the game, not an interception. That was a fumble recovery against the Rams, which really saved them. You know, the Rams were going right down the field on them, and they get that turnover, which, by the way, good job by Nick Sirianni to challenge that because the officials didn't see it. And that really changed that game, because if the Rams go in and score there, you know, the whole the feel of that game could be more of a shootout feel. And, hey, we're now chasing you. Instead, you get that stop, and you end up getting 3 points on that drive. So if the Eagles secondary, though, that's one area where I wonder if there's more there that they can start, you know, as the communication and they get better feel and they're even faster to some of these spots. Can that now equate to some more turnovers?
I'm starting to think about this Eagles team. Like I always talk about margin of error all the time. The one issue you look at is the passing game, right? It's not what we expected. Now, the running game has picked up that slack. It's certainly better than anybody could have expected. Number 1 in the NFL. We talk about the defense being number 1. The rushing offense is number 1. Overall offense is number 3. But the passing offense is now down to number 25. They haven't needed it.
You run 39 times a game, your pass numbers are going to drop. I mean, if you look at Jalen Hurts, he threw 22 times. He's had a game where he's thrown 20. I think multiple games where he's been right around 20, 22.
Yeah, one where he threw 14.
Yeah, one game said left. He's not even throwing for 200 yards in a game. But I guess the question is, like last week, what do you have, 182 or 172? Are they effective yards? You know, in other words, I'm not throwing for a lot of yards because I'm really only throwing 22 times, and I'm only throwing inside the 30-yard line. So there's not a lot of yards for me to throw for here inside these areas. I think what their passing game has kind of become, and this is where it's going to be interesting, is, look, the games are close at half, and then they're kind of running, you know, they get that big run, but they're kind of, what I think has been unique about them is the patience that they show on offense. They are sticking with this run with the scores close. It's not like they're trying to open up a 21-7 lead or a 28-7 lead. They're willing to keep the game close. And then in that second half, they get that big play because they're just creeping that safety in to help with the run. And as soon as that safety gets a little too tight, that's when they get the one-on-one down the field. And it seems that AJ or Devontae are getting like a 30 or 40-yard touchdown catch or play almost every single week. And then they just kind of lull you back with the run, and then bang, they get you again. But the crux of that is you have to almost be perfect when those situations arise. When you get that one-on-one and he's open, you better make sure he makes that throw. And so far, he's been making that throw. It's the other throws when, you know, from time to time that maybe there's plays that they're missing. And is that sustainable? I don't know. I guess everything is, can you do that against Detroit? Anybody else, yeah, you probably can get away with that. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, let's be honest. The Eagles are going to the playoffs. I mean, they're going to win the NFC East.
How fun will the Carolina week be?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to win that game. I feel very comfortable.
Well, Carolina's playing a little better. They gave a scare.
They are, but I still feel pretty comfortable. And that's where you're starting to get the feel of, you know, let's go back. The last team, and there's a couple teams. I always bring up the greatest show on turf. Rams did it a different way, obviously, but they didn't care about turnovers. They just beat teams like a drum. Then there were the Jimmy Johnson Cowboys in a different way, more like the Eagles now. Run the football, run the football, run the football. People knew they were going to run the football. Didn't matter. Couldn't stop it. Are the Eagles at that level where it's not going to matter?
Well, what it does is it shortens games and it wears you out. So it puts more pressure on the other team because the game is now shorter. They can't make mistakes.
Yeah.
And when they make a mistake, it is so confounding. And that the Eagles, when they capitalize, last week they got the turnover, they end up getting 3. Not a huge deal in that game. But as you said, think about how different that game is if the Rams scored. But by running the ball all game, it not only shortens the game, it just wears the other team out. And the margin of error for them on defense is tough to erase when they're getting beat up on all game long. When you are rushing the passer and don't have to tackle a guy running 20 miles an hour at you, you're staying a little bit more fresh, and you have the ability later on in the game to make a play. Sometimes those plays are just there to be made, but they're just not able to because they've had a rough day at the office. So when you have the personnel to do it, if you can be patient, and that's the thing with the Eagles, I think. We've always heard they want to throw. That Jeffrey Lurie they won a game, and he was mad because they didn't throw enough. The patience that they are showing to stay with this brand of football they're prospering from it now, and hopefully they stick with it.
Mike, isn't the defense, when we think about this running game and this offense, I still give the most credit on the MVP on the team to the defense. Now I want you to listen to this stat. Saquon Barkley has 920 rushing yards in the second half of games this year. The only reason they're able to stick with that as a team that has struggled in the first half, and especially that first quarter, they haven't put a lot of points on the board. The only reason they've been able to stick with this is because the defense isn't giving up any points. You can't, if you're not scoring in the first quarter and the other team puts up 2 touchdowns, you're not getting to the second half and running for 920 yards with Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Now they've been able to do that, and that like yesterday or the Sunday night was another perfect example of that. The Commanders game was another perfect example of that. The defense just keeps shutting teams down, and I think to your point about sticking with the run game, that's what's allowed them to do that. Is how good the defense has been. Do you agree, or am I overreacting that they're really the MVP?
I think the questions were bigger on defense entering the year than they were on offense.
Right.
So the surprise is more that the defense is better, and it's the fact that they're the number 1 defense. The defense last year was, 31, 32? They were awful. So to make that kind of change, we wondered, I remember talking about this, John, with you at training camp. Is Vic Fangio good enough to make this team go from the worst defense in the league to just middle of the pack? And would that be a big enough jump for them? They're not the middle of the pack. They're the best right now. Now, what metrics say you're the best? Is it yards per game? Is it points per game? Is it whatever you want to look at? Do they have the best personnel? I don't know, but I think we're at the point where you don't have a guy. We talked about the trade deadline. Maybe they could have added another edge rusher just for depth or whatever. But we talked about, Budda Baker, okay, he's probably better than what they have, but they're really not looking to replace what they had. Linebacker, you might be able to get a guy better than what you have, but they weren't really looking to replace a guy. Everybody, they don't really have a weak spot right now. Now, the Brandon Graham injury, I think, kind of reopens that conversation. But that's why I think the defense has been the bigger story, because you expected the offense. I think we expected the offense to be even better than what they are right now. But this is what, but the defense has just been such a key part of all this. And look, 3rd down against the Rams could not convert on 3rd down in the game. That's a number that last year killed Philadelphia. Just keep drives going because they couldn't get off the field. So, yeah, I think the defense, because of the expectations coming in, has been the story.
Yeah, and that was my whole assessment of the Eagles. If Vic Fangio can get a middle of the road on defense, they would be a very good team. He hasn't gotten the middle of the road. He's gotten them to be arguably the best defense in the NFL, which is an amazing story, an amazing turnaround. So a lot of credit to the defensive side of the football. Here's what I want to boil it down. I'm going to give you a scenario. Forget about Detroit, but if you're in the championship game against Detroit, I think a lot of people know you're going to have to score some points. Do it however you want, but you're going to have to score some points to beat that team. let's say divisional round. Could be Green Bay, could be Minnesota. I don't know how it's going to shake out. Block punt. They take it back for a touchdown. You got the catastrophe. Then Jordan Love throws for a touchdown. Sam Darnold throws for a touchdown. You're down 14-0 early. Can they come back from that?
Right. Yeah, that's the big thing is if they're down in a game, can they throw their way back? And I think conventional wisdom would say, look, you got Brown and Smith and Goddard. Yeah, you should be able to. We just haven't seen it. Are they working on that? Is that something, Jason Kelsey has a bite that he said on the New Heights podcast, last year when he was done playing. And Nick was taking some heat because of the 1-7 ending. And he said, look, Nick Sirianni is the best situational football coach I've ever been around. And that's the things where, okay, situational football, we don't need this right now. But when we do need it, are we prepared for it? It's like the moment in the Dallas game the other day where the onside kick, the guy picks it up and takes it for a touchdown. And everybody's saying, what are you doing? Situational football, if you practice that, would say catch that ball, go down, the game's over, you win.
Yeah.
Those are the situations where when the moment happens, have I practiced it so much that I'm ready for it? Dallas obviously hasn't because that guy took the ball to the house. Now, it makes a great moment for him because they won the game in the end, but in a bigger game and a bigger moment for him, he needs to do the right thing. Can the Eagles be that when they need it? They have the talent to, but so far we haven't seen that it's not a fluid passing team. They are a big play passing team. It is not a timing-based offense in the pass game, even though it probably should be. And that's one of the things is when you're down, can they throw their way back? We haven't had to see them even try it yet.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, if you look at the numbers, I know Jalen's attempts are way down because they're running the ball like a bat out of hell every single week since the bye. But he does have his best passer rating of his career, and he does have his highest completion percentage of the year. Now, will that extrapolate into the same success if they have more passing attempts? I don't know. But the way Jalen has played, I mean, I know he's missing some reads, and there's some things here and there that you criticize, but you can find that with every quarterback. I think they'll be equipped to do it. You add in the receivers, you add in the tight end, you add in the offensive line. I think they're in a good position, but do you think, Mike, that he can do that and have those numbers if he were have to throw the ball 30, 35 times a game?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've seen him do it before. I mean, we keep forgetting sometimes how well he played in 2022 and that they needed him to play in 2022. And quite frankly, the confounding part about this is it's almost perplexing at times that here's a guy on the biggest stage in the biggest game of his life. The moment was not too big for him. In fact, he was probably the best player on that field in the biggest game of his life. And here we are wondering whether or not he can make a 7-yard throw consistently to keep chains moving. And when you're down, can he get up on the ball quickly and find open receivers? We've seen this guy not only do it at an elite level. Where has that player gone? Is it a him that has changed? Is it the terminology? All that stuff. That is the wild part about this. We shouldn't be having questions about this. So why are we?
Yeah, because you're right. But here's my concern with the passing game. As you mentioned, first of all, you can whatever you want to use. You can use the eye test. You can use the advanced statistics. Everything tells you they have not been efficient. Now, you're right about just raw yardage. Kind of explain it away by the Eagles are running the football a lot, so the raw yardage is down. Unfortunately, if you look at PFF and the film, they're 23rd in the passing game. That's based on film, not yardage. That's based on efficiency. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to accomplish? You want to go to DVOA, which is more advanced statistics, again, down in the 20s, not efficient. It hasn't been efficient, except when they throw it to A.J. Brown. That's the problem. The efficiency isn't there. I think a lot of people say it is there, but it really isn't there.
Yeah, I agree. No, so is the lack of efficiency a quarterback problem, a play design problem? Because as I go back to, we have seen Jalen Hurts be efficient and succeed in many of these moments that we're now having questions about.
Yeah.
Is it a play design thing, John? Mike? And
You know
John,
me
you put
with-
that
you-
tweet out
you-
on
you-
during
you-
the game. I wish
well,
somebody would love me like the Eagles love long.
You know me
developed
with play
routes.
design. Like the Eagles got to see Sean McVay, Mike. They got
Yeah.
to see Sean McVay, Eagles fans. Did that look creative to you, Mike? They're going to run that stupid flat pattern for the 15th time right now.
Right.
Does
Right.
that look creative?
Yeah, well, listen, a lot of it is, and this is why, sometimes, and I don't believe that you were at the game on Sunday, right? So you weren't in
No.
LA. When you get a chance to watch the game from the angle and the aerial that the media does, they can see more things happening.
Yeah.
And you're watching the game on TV, you don't get to see the patterns
Yeah.
unless they kind of show you a replay. So that's where sometimes you're like, well, what were they running there? They only had two guys out in the pattern, or stuff like that you can see more. That's why it's a tough answer for someone like us. I'm not at the game. I can't see what the patterns are, who's open that he's missing, unless you go back and watch the all 22 and kind of get a chance to see all that stuff. So I guess the big thing, you have a guy who's done it. It's not like you're waiting for him to do it, and yet it's not happening at the level. Now, is it not happening at the level they want, so they had to get away from it? Or is Barkley just so good that they said, even though we're really good at that, we're even better at this?
Yeah. And what are you going to do? Take the ball out of the guy who's on pace for 2,000 plus yards in an MVP season as a running back? I mean, it's a tough battle to be in, but John isn't wrong, and people aren't wrong when you say eventually you might have to beat a team through the air. Are you equipped to do it? I do think it's a fair question, but it's hard to take the ball out of Saquon's hands right now.
It is. And
that's why I brought up the Cowboys. If you can do it, do it. If you can do it all the way to the finish,
by the way,
do it.
The Cowboys of the 90s, had Emmitt Smith. He became the all-time leading rusher in league history, not because he was the best running back, but because they just gave him the ball and they had a great offensive line.
Yeah, the best.
But they also had Michael Irvin on that team. Alvin Harper was a really good receiver.
That's kind of my point.
Yeah,
they were run first, but they were efficient.
They were able to find a balance of when to use Irvin, Harper, Novacek, but by still being a run-first team. And that's kind of where the Eagles seemingly are, is they're finding a balance between – look, they scored 37 points in the game the other night with no Smith. In any game that didn't have Brown or Smith in it this year, it's kind of been a disaster. So that was a big growing point in the game is, hey, here's a game with no Smith. We know they don't have a lot of depth at that position. Now, only one receiver caught the ball in that game other than Brown, and that was Dotson for one catch for 4 yards. So it wasn't pretty, but they found a way to score 37 points. 37 points in a game where Devontae Smith didn't play. Whereas if that happened in the past, it didn't go so well.
I'd like to see a simple drag route for AJ Brown. I mean, I don't think I've seen him run one route that's 5 yards,
nice
3 yards
slant,
past the line of scrimmage.
Nice little slant at least. But
Yeah,
hey, Atlantic City.
Yeah,
it's not what it once was, but once one of the bastions of boxing, and one of the quotes from cliches from boxing I always use because I believe in it completely is styles make bites. And I went into that Rams game. Don't get a lot right, but I got that right. Everybody was talking about the Rams front this, the Rams front that. They've been very good, very young. They're also really undersized. I mean, really undersized. And you look at Jordan Mailata and Mekhi Becton and Landon Dickerson and Lane Johnson. Eagles played bully ball and beat the big guy, beat the small guy, to use Chip Kelly. Beat them the hell up.
Yes.
Now,
we saw that in the game out there last year, too, where they had Donald last year, but their edge rushers were smaller, quicker guys, and they were getting a lot of buzz early in the season. And they, we talked about it, too, during the week, was anytime the other team's strength is they have good pass rushers or edge rushers, or you say, okay, fine, that's great. The Eagles' offensive line, it will be a stalemate at the, if your strength of your defense is up front, I feel better because of the offensive line that Philadelphia has. So, it's almost like the Quinyon Mitchell thing. If you have McLaurin, okay, he's your best. I feel okay with that. Now, he might get me here and there, but I don't feel that that's a complete check in their favor. And that's why the Rams thing, same thing. That's their strength. I feel like the Eagles' offensive line can even that score, if not still have a slight advantage.
I agree with you, but here's and again, I always say you can't legislate injuries. So I'm going to bring up the catastrophe scenario. No, Eagles can't do anything about it. This team's I think we all agree is a significant Super Bowl contender. And there's very few, as Mike pointed out. If Saquon gets hurt, is this team done?
They're certainly different. Then they would have to then make the change to see if situational football comes in. And have you practiced enough to say, if we can't rely on the run game as much as we are, because look, was their offense good last year? Saquon was not here. I know they had Swift, and he's probably, I don't know. I mean, if you put Gainwell and Will Shipley and split them, are they equivalent to what they had last year? And now you have an offense that's similar to the one last year. Now, I know late in the year last year, that offense did struggle, but there were times where, that offense, I think last year's offense was a disappointment as well. I think a lot of people overhyped what they thought they were going to get from DeAndre Swift based on the fact that he crushed it the year before in that game and against the Lions, and people were like, "Oh, that guy ran for 200 yards."
Well, that's always my concern. Like Saquon's coming off a 255-yard rushing game against that undersized front. That is the 9th best rushing performance in NFL history. All right, you can't count on that every week, even with Saquon Barkley.
Well, it's like the year they won. Was it the year they won the Super Bowl? I think, or they played Denver. Denver had like the number 1 defense in the league, and Philly scored like 55 on them.
Yeah,
it's like
Von Miller, Lane Johnson.
So it was like on that week when you played. So Barkley gets 255 against this rush defense. It's supposed to be something, and then you'll see the Rams like from here on out, the rush defense completely get gashed because everyone is going to say, well, I didn't realize how small they were up front. Maybe we should try running the ball on them.
Yeah.
Mike, big game this weekend, man. Ravens coming up. What's your early?
This is probably the biggest test of the season. Obviously, Baltimore's sometimes a little Jekyll and Hyde, but they're talent for talent wise, probably the best team on the schedule. Green Bay early in the season, I think Baltimore's better than them. They'll play Pittsburgh a couple weeks down the road. John and I had a little back and forth on this on my show yesterday. I agree with you. I think Baltimore, even though they lost to Pittsburgh, is the better team. So this is the best team you have on the schedule. They like to run the ball. We'll see how Philly's run defense holds up against them. And they're good at, their strength is stopping the run. Their defense, though, can be had. You can get big plays on this defense. That's not the same Ravens defense that they've been in the past. So it'll be a fun test. It's a 425 game, and it's going to be the biggest, most watched game of the year. Saquon Barkley on Friday was plus 6,000. When I was doing my show Monday, he was plus 600. And yesterday he was plus 425 to
taking advantage of the people, Mike.
They know what they're doing. Coming from.
They know what they're doing.
I say this in that you've already lost your chance to throw a couple shackles down on Saquon if you want, but it's going to be the most watched game, I would imagine. Well, you got the Thanksgiving Day game, although no one's watching. Who gets more viewers, Detroit or Dallas? That'll be an interesting battle. But you're going to get the most watched game on Sunday. Barkley against Jackson. They are 2-3 right now in the MVP race. If Barkley can put up a big game in the most watched game of the weekend against the other competitor, you could legitimately now say that Barkley has, I think he had one big game on prime time that put him into this conversation. But if he does and has another big game against Baltimore, that will keep him in the conversation probably to the finish line.
At Mike Gill Show, make sure you follow Mike on the X platform. You see on YouTube at Mike Gill Show, 97.3 ESPN South Jersey, 2 to 6, the Sports Bash. Toughest question of all, Mike. And take out that you're in the Delaware Valley. More impressive tandem, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, or Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley?
It's a hard one. I'd have to go with the Baltimore duo just because I think the quarterback's more dynamic in the run game. If you were to say they're equal everywhere else, where's one separation? Jackson's more dynamic in the run game than Hurts is. I think the two running backs are different. You know,
he's
Henry,
more dynamic in the passing game too. By the way, he's got like 25.
He's way more dynamic.
Yes,
he's
that's why I go
Lamar Jackson.
Significantly more in the run game, I think. Though,
well,
the running backs are just different.
The running backs. The running backs. It's eerie. The numbers. Barkley took the lead because he ran for 255 yards. So Barkley has 223 carries for 1,392 yards, 6.2 yards per carry, 10 touchdowns, 72-yard touchdown as longest. Henry's at 221 for 1,325, 6 yards per carry, 87 yard is his longest, 13 touchdowns.
These are college numbers. It's great. They're college numbers. To get 6.5 yards a carry in the NFL is unheard of.
Yeah, it's insane. And Lamar Jackson's over 3,000 passing yards too, with
Lamar,
27 touchdowns to 3 picks.
Look, don't waste your money. I don't know who's going to win the MVP, but it's going to be Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen.
I hate
it's a quarterback award. That's not an insult to say. Saquon's going to win Offensive Player of the Year.
I'm telling you, John. I know you don't agree with me, but I think that people are going to vote for Barkley as long as his numbers are on the pace that they're on. The whole Giants story, the Hard Knocks, it's going to be like, Joe Shane was an idiot.
He also has the moments too. You need like MVP moments, like the backwards reverse, the 255 running game. He does have a couple moments.
You guys are right, but boy, man, to do it. To continue, well, you can't continue at the pace he was on this week. It's not realistic.
No, and we talked about this yesterday. You know, what happens late in the year? You have Dallas and the Giants. Is the NFC East wrapped up? Are you not able to catch Detroit? So he might lose a game or two late in the year because of it. But it'll all play out.
But you had the numbers. What was he before this week? Before the Rams,
he was plus 6,000 on Friday.
That's the real number. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that people want to win money. It's a quarterback award.
Yeah,
I don't even like it.
You should see the people texting in their tickets to my show. Guys who threw $5 back in August when he was plus 10,000. Guys who threw $50 back in August when he was plus 10,000. The payouts that these guys think they're getting sometime at the end of the year.
Well, I'll tell you what, you gotta hope the Eagles beat Baltimore and Saquon has a big game. That's number one. Number two, you gotta hope Josh Allen has a poor finish. And Lamar as well. That might be baked into
Buffalo, keep in mind too, that AFC East is pretty much wrapped up. Are they in play for the number 1 seed? Yes, but things could change between. So Allen might lose a game or two.
And don't sleep on Jared Goff if he goes off against Green Bay.
And if they don't lose any more games, Jared Goff's going to be up there too. MVP should stand for most valuable passer.
It should. It should.
Because the funny part is the MVP, Barkley, was plus 6,000, but somehow he's the favorite for Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, well, it happens all the time. A couple of years ago, Jefferson won. They give Offensive Player of the Year more. That's a better indication.
Well, if you're looking for the true MVP, it has to be Tua, because that team is the worst team in the league when he does not play. And when he plays, if he would play the whole year, there's no question they're a playoff team. They might even make the playoffs still. But without him,
I agree.
They are legitimately the worst team in the league.
Yeah, they were bad. What are they?
Well, and by the way, to be fair, if you want to make that definition, most valuable player, it should be the best quarterback. Because I say it all the time.
You take those guys off the team. What are they? Right. You take Mahomes off Kansas City, even though his numbers aren't great this year. They're just a middle of the road roster. The rest of
I would have this argument because Ed Krause and I do our top 25 Eagles every year. Top 25 best pure football players. I talk it all the time. AJ was number one. He remains number one for me. Anyway, we do it every year. I argued back and forth with, I don't give a shit about most impactful because it's not compelling. Most impactful is Jalen Hurts every year.
Right.
Most impactful player on the New York Giants right now is Tommy DeVito. It doesn't matter if the quarterback's good or terrible.
Right, because they touch the ball every single
player is the quarterback. So that's not a compelling thing to me. That's baked in. That's the nature of the game. And that's the reality. And that's why most valuable is going to be the best quarterback. But best offensive player, that's what you should hone in on with Saquon Barkley. And I think he's 1-5 to win that.
Yeah, he's going to win that. Mike, thanks for joining in, brother. We appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Any pick on this game, Eagles-Ravens? I'm not going to make you give a score. It's too early for all that. But you think the Birds get beat the Ravens this weekend?
It's funny because the game's on the road, and it's going to be kind of chilly for the first time all year. They're going to be in a situation like that where it is going to be kind of chilly. But Nick Sirianni's teams, he's been good on the road, man. They have found ways to win on the road.
Nick Sirianni's team's been good everywhere. Road, home.
Yeah, that's true. But it's a short week for Baltimore. They had to play on Monday night. I don't know. I feel like Philadelphia's run game might be the difference in this game here. Kind of an ugly type of game, like 2017, 2013, somewhere in that range. I don't think there's a lot of scoring in this one. But feeling like the Eagles' defense is the difference with their run game. The formula works because this is the kind of team it can work on. Now, can their defense step up and get some stops? That'll be the biggest question here in this one. But I'm going to go with Philadelphia's defense kind of being the difference in this one because I think their defense is a little bit better than Baltimore. Not a little bit better than Baltimore's. Probably, I don't want to say significantly better than Baltimore's, but just a better defense.
Baltimore's defense has been a disappointment.
It has. It's not been great. It has not been great.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, thanks for joining. Make sure you guys follow Mike.
Happy Thanksgiving, Mike. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we got a busy day today there, guys. I'm doing my 99 bottles party. I got 99 pairs of tickets I'm giving away down in Wildwood today. So we got a huge crowd coming out for the show. And holy mackerel, I can't believe it's Thanksgiving already. But this is our big show of the year. Every year we do 99 pairs of tickets the day before Thanksgiving. We got a Brandon Graham autographed football. We've got Eagles, Steelers, club box seats, and all sorts of other tickets. So we'll be in Wildwood. I know people were talking about the Wildwood commercial. Come on down to Wildwood. We'll be at Mud Hen today from 2 to 6.
Nice.
Love it, Mike.
Tickets.
Yeah, great stuff. That's great stuff. You guys are doing that. Good stuff, Mike. Thanks for joining today, man. We'll talk to you again soon. All right, brother?
See ya.
Thanks, Mike.
Right. Good stuff from Mike Gill there, joining us on Birds 365. Love talking to Mike Gill, who does a great job for us. He had some good takes there away from this team. John, I got a super chat we'll get before we get to the break, and then we'll talk to Brandon Lee Gowton coming up in 14 minutes. A couple people, John, and I've gotten to get to this comment a couple times. People are looking for the great Ed Krause, the return to the show. I said, Ed has been in Japan for a couple weeks, and then our schedules haven't quite aligned up, but we'll get him back in.
Yeah, Ed, his uncle's sick, so he's got some things he's dealing with. So yeah, and he was in Japan, but he'll be back. He'll be back.
Good. Looking forward to it.
Down. So, Ed'll be back. Just a matter of when, and I'll do my best to get him on as quickly as possible.
Yeah, good stuff there. John, we got a super chat here from Rashid, and I'm going to echo this question. And it is a good question. Rashid says, hey, John, can you explain to me what you mean about the passing game? The QB is efficient with completing 70% of his passes. We're top 10 in receiving, and the QB has a high QBR. He also has a high passer rating. What do you mean? I think it's a fair question. Like, where is it that you're seeing that they're not efficient in the passing game?
Well, if you look at the advanced numbers, and again, whatever you want to go, if you want to go EPA, if you want to go DVOA, if you want to go film with Pro Football Focus, it's all down in the 20s. And that's not where the Eagles should be with the talent.
Is that
they
just
have.
based on sheer number of reps though, because they're not passing the ball?
No, that's the point. That's what those numbers are more important. It does by pass play. It's not.
I got you.
It's not about the efficiency of the entire offense. Just when they do pass it, how efficient they are. And you've seen, if you're going to be honest as an Eagles fan, you've seen a lot of meat left on the bone. You don't even need it, man. A lot of meat left on the bone. Early in the season, we talked about the Green Bay game. Now they were pretty poor the first 4 weeks. Part of that had to do with no AJ Brown for 3 games. But I think you've seen it, in Los Angeles. All right, yeah, when they throw it to AJ Brown, pretty efficient. When they don't, pretty inefficient. It hasn't been great, if you're being honest.
Yeah, I mean they've definitely left some meat on the bone, but we'll see. I'm still confident that when Jalen is asked to win the ball or to win the game through the air, I'm not sitting here like, oh, he can't do it. Have we seen?
I'm not. I've already seen him do it. I know he can.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You've said that. I'm not saying you didn't say that, but I do think there's a sentiment out there of people who are like, well, can Jalen do it? I'm like, I have kind of seen him do it. You do have 2 great receivers. I'm not going to sit here and say the team is doomed if somebody shuts down Saquon Barkley one day. I don't think they're doomed at all.
No, I don't think they're doomed. In fact, I think it could be helpful in some ways to get it going, to get that, because there's no reason that's part of the reason there's a high standard here, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. It's better than having a low standard. There's a high standard with this team in the organization. Forget about outside the organization. In the organization, they have not lived up to their own standard in the passing game. Anybody who says they have, I don't think is being objective.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they anticipated Saquon Barkley to be on pace for 2,000 plus yards. That's probably changed.
And nobody did, and that's why I brought up the Cowboys,
right.
the 90s Cowboys. Look, if you can do it, if you can get through it all, do it. No reason to change until somebody proves that. And that's why this game is so important. If they could do it against Baltimore, because Baltimore, as we talked about, the disappointment of them in on defense in the move away from Mike McDonald to a rookie defensive coordinator hasn't been great. It's sort of the opposite of what the Eagles did. Sean Desai wasn't a rookie, but a 1-year defensive coordinator, and now getting the veteran guy. And you see the difference. But, Baltimore has a ton of talent on defense. That's why it's so perplexing.
Yeah, it's weird.
Especially in the secondary. But they're number 2, again, in the run, defending the run, and number 31 defending the pass. That's sort of the opposite of the Eagles' offense. In that, well, teams have found it so easy to throw on them. Part of it is they don't run it on them. So part of that's baked into it when you just talk about raw yardage, and that's why those statistics aren't really that revealing at times. But if you just look at the talent Baltimore has, and we'll have to see, the first injury report will be out today. I don't know if Roquan Smith is going to play. He didn't play on Monday night. But, Madubuike is one of the best run defenders in football in the interior. Roquan Smith is one of the best linebackers in football, especially against the run.
Yeah, Roquan's going to be key. If he's out, that's going to change. Yeah. I think that's going to be a big miss.
They're really talented on defense. You go to the back, you got Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hammond. They're really gifted on defense. They got good players. You could argue, and I've argued this, these are the 2 most talented rosters in the NFL. This is, if the Eagles can play the way they're playing against this team and win and beat them handily on the road, you might start talking about, all right, this is the Aikman, Smith, Urban Cowboys.
Right.
And you can do whatever you want, and everybody knows it, and they're not able to stop it. And you got Detroit to worry about, but that's pretty much it. But yeah, this is a big test. But I think anybody who says this passing game is, if they're happy with this passing game, is just being a fan, to be honest. Why would you be happy?
It definitely hasn't been great. I just struggle with like how much do I put on that's just Saquon having a crazy year, and then also the lesser reps. I'm not sure. I do see what you're saying, but I will say this about the Ravens game, and I want everybody to think about this. I said it on the afternoon show, but I'll say it again here. While this is a great test for the Eagles and the Ravens, and it's cool, it's going to be a fun game, and you got Lamar, who's arguably the MVP, and you got Saquon and Derrick Henry and all these great names and the All-Star game. I don't really care about beating the Ravens just to say we beat the Ravens.
We
already know we're a Super Bowl contender. Last year, John, we beat the Bills. We beat the Chiefs. We beat the Cowboys. We beat the Miami Dolphins, who scored 70 points in the game. And what did it get us? It didn't get us shit. So
it doesn't
I want to win because
I'm with you. It doesn't.
I want the first seed. That's it, though. I don't care about beating I want the first seed so that we can make Detroit come out of their little dome that they live inside in Detroit and say, "Okay, Jared Goff, come to Philly in January and beat us in the playoffs."
Well, that's
how much of a different game is it though? If that NFC title game's in the dome at Ford Field or in Philly in the middle of January, that's a big switch for that line.
Completely different. Yeah. And that's why they won it there, and that's why the Eagles won it here. I mean, having it here, in both Super Bowl runs was huge for the Eagles. I mean, it's tough to play here. It's tough to play there. Eagles fans aren't taking over Detroit. They're not. They couldn't take over Detroit when they were.
Yeah, no. Detroit's got a good fan base, no doubt.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's big. That's what this game is about. If they lose this game, if you're not, and you brought up the number one seed, you don't want to lose that game from that perspective. But if you're not worried about the number one seed and you're just a normal playoff team, this is not a big loss at all. AFC team, who cares? It wouldn't be the end of the world. The only reason it's a big game is because they want the number one seed. And if you're going to get the number one seed, you got to keep winning, or you got to hope Chicago and Caleb Williams pulls what out of his butt and somebody upsets Detroit along the way. So that's the reason it's important not to beat the Baltimore Ravens. I just think it's an interesting game because Baltimore's really gifted, and they haven't played up to their talent level.
Yeah, they've lost a couple games they should have won.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way they've already lost 4 games. There's no way this team should lose 4 games.
Yeah, they lost to the Browns. I mean, they had a couple bad losses.
There's no way they should lose to the Steelers. They always lose to the Steelers.
Yeah. Steelers are a tough team. I know they're not. I don't think they're as good as their record says.
I don't even worry about that game.
I don't either, but I do think they're physical. They're physical. Eagles, they are a physical team.
The Eagles will beat the Steelers like a drum. I'm predicting that already.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not even mildly concerned over that game. Here, they haven't won here since 1960 something. Number one, they don't come here a lot, but they never win here to begin with. They're a plucky, overachieving team. I don't see plucky, overachieving teams beating this Eagles team. I just don't. You got to have talent to beat this Eagles team. Baltimore has talent. Now, they show up with their bullshit C game, but they'll lose. But if they show up and play well, they got the talent to beat anybody. They got the talent to beat Kansas City, Detroit, Philadelphia, Buffalo, anybody. And that to me is the difference.
Good stuff there. One more super chat. We'll get to our break and we'll get to BLJ. Brian checks in. The QB.
We know the quarterback exudes no confidence in you, Brian. We know that.
He looks like he can't run an offense unless he just hands it off. Always off schedule and shaky timing. Mid Hurts.
I don't think he's mid. But there's points that he can prove. And by the way, there's points he has improved. And I think that's, by the way, when we talk about the efficiency has been much better since the bye. I'm talking about the whole season.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're playing well now. It's gotten better and better and better. One of the most positive things, I think, in recent weeks, past 2 weeks, is his willingness to dump it off. I've been talking about that for years. He just never dumped it off.
Yeah.
And he's done it a couple of times to significant success. And that helps that efficiency. But yeah, there's still the late throws, the 4th and 3 play. I can't get that out of my head. Man, that's a freaking touchdown.
Yeah.
What are you seeing? Just release the ball on time, and it's a touchdown. We're not talking about Nick Sirianni for a week because he won for it on 4th and 3, and it should have been a touchdown. And people are like, well, that's a dumb decision. No, it's not. It's poor execution. So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah, I hear you. No doubt. Rashid checks in. I don't think the passing game is consistent, mainly first quarter.
Yeah.
4-10 first quarter, 14-18, 2-4 sums up the season for the passing game. It has to be better. I think it's fair.
I don't understand people that think it's a criticism to say it has to be better. Isn't that obvious?
Yeah, I mean, they got two top 10 wide receivers, one top 3 wide receiver, I think, A.J. Brown, in my opinion. You got a top 10 tight end, maybe even a top 5 to top 7 tight end. You got a top 2 offensive line, for crying out loud. Yeah, I don't think it's unfair. But I think
you got a running game performing at historic levels that should
Right.
make it easier to pass. In
right.
theory.
But I do think there's a lot of people who are just like, I don't really care as long as we keep winning games. I don't.
Well, that part's fine. I'm just
Yeah.
pushing back against the people who think it's horrible to say the passing game hasn't been as efficient as it should be.
That's completely.
It
fair.
should be even more efficient because of the running game.
Yeah, I'm getting to the point though, John, with this defense and what they're proving. I think you can win this way. I early in the year, I was in agreement where eventually you're going to have to pass. If this defense,
if
this defense is going to do this though, John, I mean, what?
But
you don't even need to become a passing team.
I think I've convinced you. You're right. I say all the time, you can win in a bunch of different ways. All I'm saying is your margin of error is smaller.
Yes,
Not that you can't win.
Absolutely. There's no doubt. I mean, that's common sense at this point. I mean, it's very obvious. But when you do have a defense keeping team, like you said, Baltimore's number 2 in the rushing. I don't give a fuck. You think they're going to stop Eagles' offensive line? I mean, you think they're going to who in that defensive line is going to get through that Eagles offensive line? I don't see anybody. So I think that's where people are, and the running game's been that dominant, John, that's becoming the line of thinking, and I can't fault that line of thinking.
No, that's fine. I was just speaking directly to the people clapping back about, come on, everything, everything's not perfect. There's never been a perfect NFL game to date. So there's always room for improvement. And the Eagles consistently acknowledge they got to get more efficient in the passing game. And that's because, they're not sticking their heads in the sand, which is a good thing.
Yep, no doubt. This is a good point here. Philly Boy says, you can say it's more important for Detroit to keep winning with Minnesota and Green Bay behind them. Forget home field. They might not have a home game. I think they're going to win it. I mean, I think they're going to do pretty well, but they do have a tougher schedule down the stretch. They play.
They're definitely in a tougher division. So there's
definitely
a
tougher division. Yeah, and they have a couple tough games left. So we'll see what happens there. Philly Boy, thanks for the super chat. Thanks everybody for the super chats. Hit that like button, everybody. We'll be back in 3 minutes with BLJ. I see him in the green room. Looking forward to talking to Brandon Lee Gowton. Coming up next on Birds 365.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. counselor.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
We noticed that there was mold creeping into our basement about a year and a half ago, and wanted to make sure that we were getting rid of the problem permanently. We actually reached out to several different contractors to get it resolved, and actually 2 of them recommended DryTech to us as a long-term solution. Other than the noise factor, we wouldn't even know that there was work being done on the basement level. It's really been a clean process for us.
Score and save this football season on your car insurance. Before the next game, save up to 40% on your auto insurance policy. That's right, 40% savings. Call an Audible this season and contact the Del Val Insurance Group. They're an advocate for you, not an insurance company. That means they'll get you the right coverage and save you up to 40%. Call managing partners Fran or Jim of Del Val Insurance, 215-354-0122, or score and save at dvigi.com. dvigi.com.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Wednesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. Joined now by Brandon Lee Gowton of Bleeding Green Nation, one of the best Eagles websites out there. Make sure you guys go check out Bleeding Green Nation. BLJ, how you doing, man? Good. Welcome to the show.
Doing good, guys. How's it going?
Good, BLG. Happy Thanksgiving Eve, #1. And now I asked Mike Gill this. I'm going to ask you because you have some length. Did the Eagles contact you for an edge rusher tryout?
They know I'm retired. Yeah, they can't afford. I don't think they can afford me.
They are taking some dart throws, and it started a couple of weeks ago, really, when they brought back Teron Jackson and O'Shawn Mathis. Now it's KJ Henry on the practice squad. Charles Harris off waivers. Malik Reed, they worked out. We'll see if they bring him in. Which one of those dart throws are going to hit, or are we talking about missing the board completely, BLG?
Yeah, it seems to me like they're kind of just throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall to see maybe what sticks here, which I think it's a pretty reasonable approach given the fact that we're in late November. There aren't amazing edge rusher options out there. The trade deadline's obviously over. So I think these are all reasonable kind of take, a flyer on this guy, see what he's got kind of chances. None of them are, I think, super compelling. But also, look, I think some of it is maybe they have hope Bryce Huff can come back at some point, and they're trying to bide their time a little bit here. Obviously, can't just count on that as a sure thing because, even if he does get back, he wasn't lighting the world on fire before the injury. Yeah. So that's an issue.
Yeah, no doubt. Losing Brandon Graham is definitely big for this team. John brings up the quote all the time of it's not about one injury. It's multiple injuries at the same position. So we'll see if the Eagles can handle that. BLJ, what's your general feeling, though, on this team now at 9-2? They just keep out-physicaling teams. And sometimes when I think about football, it's if you can out-physical anybody you line up against, you have a good chance to beat that opponent. I think they're in a good spot right now with the way they've been dominating in the run game. What's your general feeling on this 9-2 team and their chances at making a Super Bowl run this year?
Yeah, if we want to talk about identity, like being physical, that toughness is certainly in there, and that goes for the offensive line. Opening holes for Saquon Barkley, just tossing defenders around. Goes for Saquon Barkley himself. Obviously, he's had just some straight up like nasty stiff arms that we've
Yeah,
seen.
that was a hell of a stiff arm, I guess.
And he's done that like regularly.
Yeah.
He just like sticks that arm out and is just like deleting people and shoving them to the ground. But it's not even just them. Look at AJ Brown too, who had 48 yards yards after the catch in this game against the Rams. Rams just like couldn't tackle him. You already know he's a beast with the ball in his hands. So it just really kind of goes all the way around, where they've been physical, they've been tough, and they've really built an identity on that.
I always talk about margin of error, BLG, because I think that's the point of Jeffrey Lurie's whole philosophy about having a high octane passing offense. You want to, it's not that you can't win this way, but you want to increase your margin of error if things go badly on a particular game day. There's some teams, and I go back to the Jimmy Johnson Cowboys being the most notable in recent history. Doesn't matter. If you're that good, if you're that better, everybody knows what's coming and you can't stop it. Is it possible the Eagles are just that good in this type of football?
I think for the most part, yes. I tend to think there's going to be a game, and hey, maybe it's this week against the Baltimore Ravens, who are allowing the fewest yards per carry in the NFL, but are certainly more vulnerable against the pass. So maybe it's this week where you have that game where you're going to have more volume from Jalen Hurts than we've seen from the Eagles. I'm reluctant to bet against Saquon Barkley and this run game, given the way they're going. And I've seen the Eagles dominate some pretty good run defenses. I think back in previous years when the Saints had like the #1 run defense in the NFL, and the Eagles didn't have Saquon Barkley back then.
Yeah.
They did have Jeff Stoutland and a really good offensive line,
Right.
and it didn't really matter who they were facing. So I do think the run game is so good that I have a hard time believing it's going to be totally shut down, even if they're playing, the NFL's best run defense. But to your point, like there's going to be a time where the passing game is just going to have to be more present than it's been.
Yeah. Call me a glutton for punishment, BLG, but I'm going under 255. I'm going to bet against that, but
sure.
Hey, I'm a negative guy. Under 255.
BLG, go ahead, John.
No, you can't expect that every week. But to your point, I don't know. I keep waiting for it because there's so much talent on the Eagles offense. And I don't know. I mean, a lot of people clap back at me because I say, I don't see the efficiency in the passing game that should be there. There's meat on the bone. It's gotten better over this streak, and they've certainly stopped turning it over, which is helpful. But you still see a couple plays, it seems, each and every game where, all right, if this ball comes out on time, you got a big play. And the advanced statistics pointed out the film, PFF's got them in the 20s. Everybody's got them in the 20s when it comes to passing efficiency. Am I crazy? Should they be doing better, even in the limited opportunities because of the running game, which in theory should make you better in the passing game?
I mean, I don't think it's crazy. I think, look at the Bengals game when Jalen Hurts was pretty electric. Aside from a little bit of a slow start in that one, I think people, were feeling pretty good about like the offense's outlook, about Jalen Hurts' outlook. Like when he plays really well like that, there's a different feel. And not to say he hasn't played well, but I just, as we're talking about with opportunity cost and meat left on the bone here, and once you face tougher teams, and again, this week probably a great example of this, that you're not going to always be able to get away with those things as much, and they're probably going to need him to do a little bit more. I will give him credit for, early in the season, kind of the big point with the turnovers, and they're obviously happening at way too high of a rate, was that like he didn't need to carry the offense himself. He is such a good supporting cast that if he could even kind of just scale back on being so careless with the ball, then they're probably going to be okay. And they figured that out, and they've done that. That's good. But again, it's about trying to like take that next step from there to really elevate this thing even further.
Yeah, and we'll see if they can do that. BLG, I'd feel remiss if I didn't ask you. You did witness a 300-plus yard game from Saquon Barkley. Have you ever seen in person a running back as good as Saquon Barkley? Maybe you have. I don't know. Maybe it's just more of this offensive line to you. But this guy's unbelievable to watch. What did you make of him and his historic performance on Sunday night?
Yeah, I mean, like that's the kind of the proper framing, right? Is like, is this the best Eagles season ever? And we're not there yet because Reggie White had what, like 21 sacks in a strike shortened season at one point. But like that's the kind of, I think, conversation we should be discussing him in. Like he's been unreal, and he is the best. I just think because it's all there, it's everything. It's catching the ball, it's fighting hard for yards. He makes 7-yard, 8-yard runs look really impressive. And then in addition to that, you give him daylight, he's gone. Not every running back can do that. Like we've seen Eagles running backs who haven't been able to break it like that. So it's really just every single thing. There's really nothing he can't do.
And this is why this week is so fun because, I brought the numbers between Saquon and Derrick Henry are eerily similar. Saquon kind of took the lead this week coming off the 255 game, but Derrick's averaging 6 yards a carry. He's got 13 touchdowns. He's got an 87-yard. It's amazing the way he can run at his size. Better tandem, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, or Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, it's tough. I'm going to go with the Ravens just because, Lamar has been amazing as a passer this year. Leads the NFL in passer rating. He's been great. And obviously, I think he's a better, everyone would say he's a better runner than Jalen Hurts.
He's a better runner than everybody, every quarterback.
It's not even a slight to Jalen Hurts. It's just,
he's insane.
Special. Yeah. So I think you have to add that and the importance of the position and the fact that I would take Saquon over Derrick Henry in a slight margin right now. But I think, if we're talking about the aggregate of both quarterback and running back, I would give it to the Ravens.
Yeah, and you also have to add in I know Lamar's a great runner, and that's obvious. BLG, he's got over 3,000 passing yards already with 27 touchdown passes and 3 picks. I know why this guy is the leader in the MVP race every stinking year. He's that freaking good. It's pretty unbelievable to watch. But BLG, I think a big key in this game is going to be, obviously, when you think about Derrick Henry, is this a Jordan Davis game this week? Because he's got a limited role, and many have questioned whether that was worth the 13th overall draft pick. Okay, well, he's here to be the run stopper. You're going up against Derrick Henry this week. In my opinion, that means it's a Jordan Davis game. What say you?
Yeah, the last time the Eagles faced Derrick Henry, I think, was back in 2022 when he was on the Titans. And did a pretty good job of shutting him down, but it's obviously a much different dynamic here than it was in that game. And yeah, I think even though Lamar is passing the ball so well, there's some games here where that volume is really down, just like that's how it's kind of been for Jalen Hurts, and he hasn't needed to fully carry the weight of the offense with his arm. So, and some of his, worst games have been when those pass attempts obviously have gone up. Some of that is just how it goes when you're trailing and whatnot. But I do think if the Eagles can kind of make, this Ravens offense a bit more pass heavy, then they stand more of a chance, certainly if Derrick Henry is just doing his thing and running all over this defense. So yeah, I think Jordan Davis will be a big part of that.
The Ravens defense, I look at the players and I'm like, oh, that's pretty stinking good, but they haven't been good on defense. I get kind of a similar thing in the opposite range. If you think about Baltimore and all their talent on defense, particularly in the secondary, and I think they're 31st in passing defense. And they went from, highly regarded Mike McDonald. They lost Anthony Weaver. They lost a whole bunch of coaches. Zach Orr, first-time defensive coordinator, just, was a great player, forced to retire. Maybe a little bit of Sean Desai, too much too soon, whereas the Eagles were bad, and then they get the veteran defensive mind. The Ravens had the veteran defensive mind, then they got real bad with the young defensive mind. Is it as simple as that? because they have talent on defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, sixth highest average passer rating allowed this season. Only 7 teams are allowing more yards per pass attempt, and only 1 team is allowing more yards or passing yards per game. So they're gettable through the air, the secondary.
And by the way, they have Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey and a bunch of good defense. Nate Wiggins, even as a rookie, I thought he was way too slight, but that guy can cover. I'm like, how are they so bad on the back end? It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's a fair question. You know, obviously they traded for Trey White, who's been terrible. The Rams at the deadlines, they're self-aware about some of those weaknesses too, and trying to address things. But it just seems like they just, as simple as it is, like don't have the answers against the pass.
Yeah.
BLG, are you concerned about the passing game still? Because I was early in the year, and now I'm starting to look at this team, and I'm like, if the defense keeps every opponent at bay, and you don't let them get a 2-score lead. I mean, to this point, they've been so good that it's allowed the Eagles to get into third and fourth quarters and still be able to stick to the run.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as concerned about the passing game because I think they have what they need on both sides of the ball to make it work. How concerned are you still about the passing game and where it is right now?
Yeah, I'm not concerned. Like, again, they're going to be a really good team. Like, that's not my worry as it relates to the passing game. My worry would be that, like, once you're facing the other great teams, like the Ravens, like you probably will in the playoffs, like, again, that margin for error, as John talked about earlier, like, that's going to be less. It's going to shrink. And there's going to be, maybe it's not even the whole game. There could be more stretches within a game. And maybe there's just a situation where, you know, hey, football's weird. You go down kind of early. And special teams plays, whatever, something where, you know, like you're running.
I brought that up. What if you get a block punt and then you're down 2 scores? You know, what, can they come back from that? I think that's the key. And you know what? It's not like you want to practice that. Oh, yeah, let's get down by 2 touchdowns. But there's a comfort level if you've seen it. On the other hand, I'll say, if you don't need to see it, why would you want to see it?
Right.
So it's kind of, but I think you're always going to have that uncertainty unless you see it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think just it's like a game script thing. It's just not always going to go in your favor. There's going to be a situation probably where it doesn't. It doesn't mean you have to abandon the run, especially when it's your identity and how good you've been at it. But you just have to have that other element. And like, look, we're talking. We can sit here and talk about it. Lane Johnson said it after the game on Sunday. He talked about how like he knows teams are gonna eventually at some point.
He's been talking that for a couple weeks now. He's
exactly.
Been talking about
so
that.
It's not even just like we're talking. This is an internal talking point as well.
Yeah, and Lane's typically very smart. He's ahead of the game, and he's been talking about that for a few weeks. So. But hey, it hasn't come to fruition yet. I think if this is the week, I think this is arguably the 2 most talented teams in football, just from a standpoint of certainly amongst the starters, at least. You could argue depth and certain things, but these are 2 very gifted teams, so it should be a lot of fun. From a larger perspective. AFC losses, if you're going to have a loss, you want it in the AFC. But, I mean, this is all about number 1 seed. I mean, the Eagles are going to make the playoffs. They're going to win the NFC East. This is all about the number 1 seed. So they need it from that perspective. If they do lose, how do you think it's taken? Is it, I mean, it's Philadelphia, so it's always going to be over the top. But do you think it's catastrophic, or do you think, we can beat Detroit in Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, I think, if anything, it matters how that would happen if they get blown out. That's going to be a big problem. But I think, like...
Well, let's say 24-21. You lose, Justin Tucker turns back into Justin Tucker for a week. And it's a really close game, but you lose.
Yeah, I think, then it's not, like, obviously great. But I think looking at how things would go here down the stretch, it's tough to assume the Lions are going to lose some games. They do have some tougher ones coming up, like you guys mentioned. So every game matters. But, I mean, like if you can't afford to lose a game down the stretch, this would probably be the game, which is kind of like funny because on one hand, there's so much juice for this game in terms of like measuring stick and wanting to see the Eagles, how they perform against the best quarterback and the best team they faced this year. Like on the other hand, like you said, out of conference, they can kind of afford this loss more than they could with other ones. And if they win out from here, then they could still get the 1 seed. Pretty good chance. That's on the table. So it should be the reaction should be that the sky isn't falling with just one loss. But certainly, it's always different to like say that ahead of time and then feel it afterwards.
Yeah, like I said to John earlier, we beat the Chiefs, the Bills, the Cowboys, the Dolphins. We beat all those teams last year. It didn't mean anything. I want that 1 seed because I want to bring Detroit out of Ford Field late in January. But I look at Detroit's schedule. They got the Bears twice, the Packers, the Bills, the Vikings, and the 49ers. So they got some tests. I mean, they're going to have a tough schedule. I don't know how
They
many.
do, but I would add
lose,
with the Packers and Vikings in the division, they already beat both of those teams on the road. So those teams would have to go into Ford Field.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're going to be the favorite in presumably all of those games, but will they win them all is a bigger question. I don't know if they will. So let's just assume they lose one more. That means Eagles got to win out.
And by the way, there's a cumulative effect when you play good team right after each other. Like that tends to wear on even the best teams.
Yeah, people say that about when you play the Lions. It's the Dan Campbell effect.
Oh yeah.
Next game. Yeah.
People usually get their ass kicked after playing the Lions.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because they're so physical. But so it is going to be interesting. All right. I've gotten in trouble. So as I like to typically do, BLG, I want to take some of my hate and put it onto you, or maybe not, depending on what you answer. Because I have not wavered. I consistently say the best player, the best pure football player on the Philadelphia Eagles remains A.J. Brown. Now, everybody's on the Saquon Barkley bandwagon. Best player in the world. Forget about A.J. Brown, best player on the Eagles. I don't want to ask you that. Best player in the world, Lamar Jackson or Saquon Barkley?
I'm a big Lamar skeptic as it relates to the postseason because his numbers there have been terrible. It's not just like kind of.
Well, I don't know what Saquon's numbers are in the postseason, but I know he hasn't been there much.
Certainly.
Yeah.
So that's tough for me. I mean, Lamar is the superior regular season player. Lamar.
All right, get the hate to BLG. That's all I needed. Yeah. Thank you.
Unquestionably awesome in the regular season, but again, those postseason. I don't think people talk enough about how bad those postseason numbers are. Really bad.
No doubt about it. I mean, he's got to perform in the postseason. I agree with you, but he is the best player in the world. He is. I firmly believe that. But until he does it in the postseason, nobody's gonna believe that. But at least I take some of the heat off myself, so I appreciate it as I do each and every week. Because BLG's honest. I know he's going to give me an honest answer. It's not going to gin it up for the fan base, which I like.
What about the Eagles, BLG? Is Saquon Barkley the best raw football player on the Eagles right now? Johnny Mac has A.J. Brown.
AJ's great. And I think part of it's like he's been here for a couple seasons now. So you kind of, the feel of it is different, or like, already know AJ Brown is awesome. You've already experienced that feeling.
Yeah. Consistency plays into it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And the way I phrase it about AJ is just kind of like boringly excellent. Like, another game where like this game, he had 7 targets. He catches 6 of them for 109 yards. And a touchdown. 5 of the receptions were first downs. The other one was a touchdown. I mentioned earlier, 48 of his yards were from yards after the catch. It's just like, AJ Brown, he's awesome. We already know that. Whereas the feel of it with Saquon, being new this year, it just feels so much more intense. And then again, obviously having the kind of season he is in the context of like he might break the single season rushing record. And he's
coming off a 255-yard game.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, here's how I described it, BLG. I said on this day and right now, because I continue to think, on November 27th, Saquon Barkley's the MVP of the NFL, but I still think the best pure football player on the Eagles is A.J. Brown. I don't know why that's hard. Sometimes people have spiked seasons. MVPs are about statistics. I just go back to Tim Smith for those. I'm an old guy. Tim Smith once had a 200-yard rushing game in the Super Bowl. I think he had 600 total yards in his career. People have big games. To me, greatness is week after week after week after week after week. And not Saquon's a great player. I'm not saying he's not, but and by the way, you could say Jordan Mailata is the best player on the Eagles. You could say Lane Johnson. They got a boatload of players you can make arguments for. To me, it's A.J. Brown. I don't think that's a crazy statement.
No, I think you're kind of, it's getting to the territory of splitting hairs. And I think you're talking
Yeah.
about just how good AJ and Saquon are. And I think, if you take like kind of more the totality of AJ's career, the bigger sample size, certainly. But yeah, right now, obviously Saquon it's just he's unstoppable. Like basically, I don't know how teams are going to stop him.
The reason I'm going Saquon this year is because you're seeing things like what was the stat with this week? 9th in NFL history of this game. You're seeing him leap over people backwards. Like you're seeing they might make an NFL films on this season from Saquon Barkley. I love AJ Brown, and you could maybe make an argument to take him over any receiver in the NFL. But I've seen somebody put up 1,500 yards at the receiver position. I've seen that many of times. And I think Saquon, with what he's done this year, how special it's been, I'm taking Saquon right now. I think he's the best player on the Eagles and maybe the best non-quarterback in the NFL.
I think AJ's season is getting underrated from a standpoint. You look at the receiving leaders, and
his average per catch is insane.
And like he missed some time. That's part of it. Part of it is they run the ball so much. He's not getting the same kind of targets these other top receivers are. It's kind of back how it was like when he was in Tennessee with Derrick Henry, where he was incredibly efficient. It's just he didn't have the same level of volume based on the way the team plays. So I do think he's having like an underrated season, even though that might sound crazy because it's AJ Brown. I don't think anyone thinks he's not as good as he is.
But I think people get caught up in statistics, which they're phenomenal, but we've seen it before. We've seen 2,000-yard rushers. We've seen, not in Philadelphia, but it's happened in the NFL. That's the 9th best run. There's 8 better. It's just happened before. It's happened. I got to cover 296. That's Adrian Peterson, number 1 of all time. I was covering that game. It's happened before. So it's very hard to do stuff. But when people talk about best player in the world, that's why I get by. Like Myles Garrett exists. He's on a shitty team. Like, he might be the best player in the world. That is where I think the hyperbole gets too far for me. And maybe it shouldn't, because I get why people do it, because he's having a historic season. And right now, BLG, he should be the MVP. I don't think he's going to win it because that award has become, let's be honest, it's become best quarterback award. I do think he'll win Offensive Player of the Year. And I think he's a heavy favorite for that. But boy, if Lamar Jackson has a big game, Saquon's MVP hopes are dashed this weekend. That's how difficult it is for a running back to overcome the best quarterbacks. Josh Allen in the conversation as well, and maybe even Jared Goff, depending how the Lions finish. But that's the MVP picture. I guess I'll end it with you and make sure you follow Brandon on X at Brandon Gowton. Read him at Bleeding Green Nation. Does a tremendous job. Enjoyed your Josh Sweat piece this morning. Prediction: Eagles, Ravens.
Yeah, it's tough. I want to see the injury report for both sides.
Yeah, got to see if Roquan's playing. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm not like I'm not locked into my pick the way usually it kind of is.
Yeah, it's early. You can change it.
But I think I'm leaning Ravens. But I think it's going to be close. I think we're talking about like a field goal, maybe an overtime kind of game here. I think it's
two struggling kickers in theory too.
That's right.
Might have been the 2 best kickers, and for some reason having a little bit of down years. That'd be interesting. A little weather too. It's going to be cold, so that might affect the game as well, especially the kicking game.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, BLG, good stuff, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you. We're thankful you joined the show today and every Wednesday. We appreciate it, brother. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, and we'll catch up with you next week. All right, man.
Thanks, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, bud.
Up there from BLG.
BLG taking some hate off me, like he usually, because he's
he
honest,
usually
man.
does that. Yeah, John. He usually does that. Good stuff. All right, we got a couple super chats we'll hit before we wrap up this Wednesday edition of the show. I want to remind everybody, we got a big crowd in here, by the way. We got to get those likes up. You know, when we have 550, 600 people in here, we should have more than 100 likes. Do you guys hate us that bad?
Unless you validate, you know, you're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah, there's a portion of those people, but there's also people who understand that John, you can talk football with anybody. You're going to have disagreements with them. That's part of talking football. It's part of talking sports. You're never going to agree with someone on everything. And I think there's many people who understand that. People are asking about the jersey. It hasn't been claimed yet. I mean, I hate to do it to him.
8 minutes.
He's got 6 minutes now. 6.5 minutes. Nello, you're out of here. We're doing another giveaway.
Nello's going to take a cold strike 3.
I'll do so. If Nello checks in at some point, I'll give him like 72 hours. If he checks in, I'll do something for him. But I got it. Look, if he doesn't claim the jersey, I'm doing a redrawing today. But maybe I'll send him like a shirt or a sweatshirt or something. Who knows if I can do something for Nello. But yes, he has not claimed it. I think we had a super chat we'll get to. We got a couple super chats. Thank you guys for the support today. We appreciate that. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys. James Carver says, J-Mac, the one issue I have with Jalen critiques and overlooking the completion percentages is it's somewhat judging by expectations because Jalen can only do what plays are called and they're riding Saquon until stop because it's a safer percentage. It's fair.
Well, I mean, completion percentage, guys with large completions, I mean, they're making easier throws. That's part of it. I mean, if you go back to the 70s, you'd have completion for Terry Bradshaw's completion percentage is, in the 50s because he's always throwing the football down the field. Now you throw 17 bubble screens. Like I was watching a Baldy breakdown of Caleb Williams. They threw 8 tunnel screens and he's raving about the kid. I'm like, all right. You can throw a tunnel screen.
I love the J-Mac context that we get on the show. I love when J-Mac.
I mean, it's not a difficult pass to complete. Now, he also had some tremendous throws down the field. Those were legitimate big-time throws, and you could see the arm talent. But, yeah, when people get hyper-focused on completion percentage, it's about how if you're over 70%, all that means is you're throwing a lot of short stuff. And that goes from Joe Montana, Tom Brady on down. You're throwing a lot of short stuff. And the old days of Darryl LaMonica, big shots down the field, you're not going to complete as many of that. So that's a statistic, you could throw in the trash as far as I'm concerned. I don't care about, unless it's dramatic, if somebody's 55 in this era of football, they're terrible. If somebody's 75, hey, that guy's accurate. So if you have the extremes, but in this era of football, if you're not 65 or above, you got issues. You got issues in the NFL.
Fair. That's fair. Good stuff, James. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Brian Pumper says if Barkley won the MVP, J-Mac might spontaneously come back.
The nicest guy in the world. I'd congratulate him and say, unbelievable job. Unbelievable job in this era, even more so. That's my whole point. Like, I don't care if Saquon Barkley wins the MVP. Good luck for him. Good. I'll be the first one to congratulate him. I'm saying, and by the way, it would be even a better MVP because, again, it has become what you have to overcome as a running back or a receiver to win the MVP is astronomical.
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of real quick, John? You said it, and it relates to how do you say the margin of error in when you play football is lower with the running game. It's the same thing for the MVP award, right? Lamar Jackson threw for 180 last week or whatever it was. That didn't knock him out of the race.
No.
But if Saquon has 180-yard game, he's probably gone. He's probably
if he has an 80-yard rushing game and the Ravens win like 34-17 and Lamar throws for 3 touchdowns, runs for another, he's done. That's my whole point.
Yeah, margin of error is not big. But hey, listen, I'm I'm enjoying what I'm seeing from Saquon Barkley, and
Yeah,
I'm
so
not
do
going to
I.
let anything take away from that.
I
I
just
do think
find
it's
it
a special
ironic. Like,
season, though, John. I really do. It's a special season.
I don't care if Lamar Jackson wins the MVP or Josh Allen or Jared Goff or Saquon Barkley. I will congratulate any of them, but it'll be more of an accomplishment for Saquon Barkley. That's
Yes,
my only point.
Yeah, Kyron checks in. Kyron, appreciate it, brother. Thank you for being here. Kyron says the amount of Saquon running scares me. God forbid. I think he's talking about, the tread on the tires of Saquon. John, how do you feel about
It
that?
worries me more about next year than this year, to be honest.
Right.
I mean, like I always say, injuries you can't legislate injuries. So it's not like if you run them 20 times versus 25, you're going to, but that cumulative effect tends to show up on running backs, down the road the next year. That I'm a little bit concerned with, but you're trying to win the Super Bowl and they're trying to win games. And Nick says it all the week. They manage all the time. They manage Saquon Barkley during the week. So he doesn't do a lot in practice.
Good. Don't make him. He's doing enough in the games.
And then, so that's all you can do. And the Eagles have the right beat on that. That's how you manage people during the week. You don't manage people during the game. You got to do what you got to do to win the game. Now, luckily, it should be worse, but they've been ahead so far, so many games in the fourth quarter. A number of games they've been able to take them out, and manage things a little bit that way. So, but this week they're going to need them probably the entire game.
Yep, good stuff there. Seth checks in. Seth Shifley says, if the Eagles are super desperate for an edge rusher, let's sign a box boy. Maybe he turns into Kurt Warner. JK. They are desperate. I mean, and they're throwing.
Well,
darts.
they got 5 bodies already they've looked at, so they're doing everything. The more darts.
John, if you had to pick one of them to contribute to the team, which one you picking? Teron, O'Shawn Mathis.
Well, I don't know. Other than I've talked to O'Shawn, nice guy, but I haven't seen him play a snap. So KJ Henry, I know nothing about those players. Charles has played a little bit. Teron knows the system. I would say Teron because he knows the system and he's been here. They have somewhat of a comfort level. This is the under. And I'll bring it up at a relevant point if it continues to go in a negative direction. But I think Howie made a mistake with the back end of this roster pretty consistently, trying to protect people who never play.
Yeah, and like now I said yesterday, Patrick Johnson.
That's
boy,
what I'm
nice to have
saying.
him.
That's where I was going. Patrick Johnson would be. I'm not saying would be great, but the Eagles wouldn't be doing this if they had Patrick Johnson.
Yeah,
and also Jack Stoll, who they lost to Miami.
We talked about the Patrick Johnson move. Like, what will they do? That's one of those ones you had to manage with the 53, and it turned out that I don't know what the fuck Howie is so infatuated with these stupid tight ends that don't ever get on the field.
Well, the offensive linemen. I mean, they don't dress 3 offensive linemen every week. It's like they're not helping you. Like the Darian nice. I hate to advocate cutting people. I don't like cutting people. Nick Gates is one of my favorite people on this team, just as a guy. But he doesn't play. Like Trevor Keegan doesn't play.
Yeah. And Patrick Johnson's now stuck in New York with the shitty Giants.
Yeah. He was one of your best special teams player. He's a good backup edge rusher. Not that you want to play him, but he contributed to your team. Jack Stoll contributed to your team, a team that is a Super Bowl contender versus guys who don't play. I don't get that part of it from Howie.
Yeah, no doubt.
Obviously, he's thinking long term. But is it in the case of Gates specifically, who again is one of my favorite people on this team? There's no upside. He's been around for a long time. Everybody knows what he is. Yeah, you could argue upside with Keegan, but Is somebody, and you probably, if you put Trevor Keegan on waivers tomorrow, somebody's like Carolina is going to pick him up because they're terrible and he's a rookie in his rookie contract. All right. It's cost of doing business. People lose players all the time. Minnesota had an issue with, they lost their kicker and their long snapper in the same game, which is a bad situation. And they signed Jake McQuaid, who's been a long snapper, very good long snapper. He's like 36 years old. They had to sign him. They put him on the practice squad. They went as far as they could go with the practice squad elevations. They had to put him on the regular roster, the 53-man roster, and they had to cut a young cornerback, and Carolina picked him up on waivers. Cost of doing business. You need a freaking long snapper. And the young cornerback at Caleb Evans, he stinks anyway. It's like,
yeah, every move matters, man. Every little move, especially when you get late in the years. It's interesting how it plays out. All right, John, I got to let you run. I got one more super chat. James Carver. James, you might open a can of worms in the last minutes of the show here. J-Mac, were both of us wrong compared to Zander's prediction that Saquon having as much of an impact as CMC, given what's happened now? I didn't think he would do this well. Happy Thanksgiving all. James, happy Thanksgiving to you, brother.
well, I don't think anybody saw this coming from
Yeah,
well,
no.
the people that did are unrealistic. I mean, again, I predicted 16 to 7. He's right at where I predicted 16. He's at like
He's
I don't
already
know.
at it though through
Yeah,
11 games.
1650 through
He's
11
got to
games.
get to 2K.
But I always remember, for all these haters out there, everybody went lower than me. Everybody except Ed
Yeah.
Krause went higher. Everybody else I asked went lower than me. So I expected a lot out of Saquon Barkley, just not historic levels that you're seeing right now. As much of an impact as, what was the question, as Christian McCaffrey? In the short term, yes, he's had a greater impact. He's the offense, which I did not think we'd be talking about.
Right.
I just talked about the inefficiency of the passing game. San Francisco was more well-rounded. So depends what you want. I would prefer more well-rounded. I would prefer maybe a little bit less to Saquon and a little bit more to the passing game. I think that would be better. But Saquon Barkley's been phenomenal. I don't know how many times I can say that and people turn it off because they add context to it.
John, it's the way you said it, man. I'm telling you, sometimes it's the way you say things and that doesn't apply to you. That applies to anybody in the media.
I've said for every consecutive day, right now he's the MVP of the NFL. I know. And then I point out it's a quarterback award and he's probably not going to win it, and they want to jump down my throat. All right, go bet on him. I'm playing the odds. It's fucking quarterback award.
Happy and safe Thanksgiving, everybody. Philly Don, thank you, brother. John, happy Thanksgiving to you, sir.
Yes,
great
happy
show
Thanksgiving,
today.
everybody.
You heading down to NovaCare now?
Yes, I am.
All right, man. Thank you so much for doing it. A little overtime today. We appreciate it, brother. Travel safely, and maybe we'll catch up with you tomorrow if possible. If not, all good. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, brother.
All right, everybody, enjoy the holiday. See you Friday, definitely.
Right. Yep, Friday morning. All right, brother. See ya.
See ya.
All right, good stuff from Johnny Mac. I guess you guys weren't expecting some Zander time today with the jersey giveaway, but Nello has not yet claimed his jersey. I mean, we got a no claim. This is the first no claim. We've had what, 7 giveaways? 7 giveaways? And nobody has not claimed it to this point. Part of me feels a little bad for Mr. Nello. But hey, if you're not tuned in, you're not winning. If you're not tuned in, you're not winning. Let me go double check, guys. I got to make sure that he didn't comment because he had till 10. He had till 10. Now let me double check real quick. All right. Give me a hot second. Give me a hot second here. I got nothing. I got no comment from Nello. He didn't respond to me. The guy is out. He's fucking gone. It's 10:07. Nello, you're out of here. And now we will do another jersey giveaway. We will draw a new winner today. We will draw a new winner. It's Zander time, baby. Look at this. All right, see. All right, now here's the problem. Okay, all right, we got a dilemma. Let me put it on members only mode, by the way. Philly Matt, you're about to get booted from the chat because you're not a member. Men in Black, you're about to get booted from the chat because you're not a member. Where's the rest of these people? Fly Parks, you're out of here. All right, I'm putting it on members only mode. And we will be doing another jersey drawing. Another one. Here we go. Let's put it on members only mode. All right. Members only mode is activated. Now here's the question. Yo, Kenny P, by the way, you said you followed me on X. You did. You followed me on my other account. I got an account dedicated to sports. That's why I didn't follow you. I followed you back on my main account too. I don't really care. But follow me at Real Zander, not at Zander Krause. Follow me on there. Kenny P, appreciate it, brother. Great. Time for me to win it. I love it. I love it, Neclos. Is that how I pronounce that? Okay, so look at this, everybody. Now, I'm inclined to add him, okay? So, Chris, right now, until I'm convinced otherwise, you will be entered. But the jersey giveaway, you really have to enter before I do the drawing on Tuesdays. Now, Chris just becomes a member. Does Chris get added to the new drawing? Right now, I'm inclined to add Chris. Elijah Mack wants me to go broke. He wants another 2 jersey giveaway. I'm only giving away the Saquon one. The Brandon Graham jersey was claimed. He was present. I'm giving that away. All right. 1 jersey today. Saquon Barkley. Keith says yes to Chris. Chris, brother, I'm not leaving. I love it. Yes to Chris. Chris is good. Yeah, Adam. Yes. And we also got a hell no. No, next drawing. Nope, next week. No. Holy shit. No, it's a cousin. Chris is not a cousin. There is not one single cousin on the list for everybody that knows. Chris, you're in, Chris. Look at this. These people are... Come on, guys. All the great people of JAKIB Nation. All right? I'm putting Chris on the list. All right, let's do this, man. Let's do this. We will now do it again. I did not expect to do it again, but we are doing it again. All right? Look at SMD. Boo. SMD, I'm loyal to the great people who support the channel. And because Mr. Nello, listen, we aren't supposed to be giving away a jersey anyway today. So in a way, we've already entered an unprecedented territory. We weren't supposed to be here today, but we're here. And now Chris got his membership in. So any new members that become a member in the next 5 minutes will be added. They will be added. Saquon Barkley redraw. I'll get to it, Jason. Thank you, man. I appreciate your super chat. I'll get to it in just a second. All right, let me just import this list. I got to put on cousin Chris. You guys are crazy, cousin Chris. All right, I'm kind of excited. We're doing another another drawing because it's fun. It's fun to do. They're very fun to do. All right, C note. All right, here we go. Elijah said, if nobody claims this one, will you do 2 next week? I would be inclined to do another one tomorrow. Elijah, if he doesn't claim today, will I do another one tomorrow? I mean, I'll go live on Thanksgiving. Will you guys show up on Thanksgiving? That's a better question. Because your boy Z I'll show up. I got no problem doing some shows on a great Thanksgiving Day. All right, here we go. No, that's not must be present, James. I did not make that the rule before the season. I already had some dude barking at me yesterday. He's like, you can't change it to present. I'm at work. I'm like, all right, I got you. Okay. The one we did, the second jersey, though, which is not the original giveaway rules, we did do present yesterday, which, by the way, was a lot of fun and good stuff. The redraw dude should be in the chat. What do you mean, the redraw dude? Jason, clarify what you mean by that. Dirty D checks in. I need this jersey so my old lady doesn't have to spend my money to get me one for Christmas. I like that. Hopefully you get it, Dirty D. We'll see. Jason 18. Happy Thanksgiving, Big Z. Jason 18, you're the fucking man, dude. Thank you, brother. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. And all my JAKIB family, God bless you all and have a safe one. Zander, if you can have one side for Thanksgiving, what is your favorite? Mine is green bean casserole. Mine is not green bean casserole. I'll tell you that. I'm not a green bean guy. I'm not a vegetable guy. Do I look like a vegetable guy to you? Do I look like I walk up to the buffet at Thanksgiving and I go for the green bean casserole or the broccoli or the spinach? Do I look like that type of guy, 18? I go for the turkey. I go for the protein. That's Thanksgiving sides. The sweet potatoes one? I don't know. I'm blanking on what the hell people serve for Thanksgiving sides. I always go to my aunt's. That's our tradition. We go to my aunt's. Yeah, sweet potato. I'll go sweet potato. Now, I'm not fully carnivore, but carnivore is good because, I just like a lot. I try to eat as much protein as I possibly can. All right, you guys are distracting me, but 18, that was a fun super chat. And big thanks to you, by the way, and happy Thanksgiving to you, man. Thank you. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I'm thankful for each and every one of you. For all your support of the channel. You guys have made this one of the funnest years of my life. With me becoming a host this year. I had never done that in the past. Didn't expect to do it, to be honest with you. And now I've done it now for almost 8 months or whatever it's been, I guess, since after the draft. And it's been a lot of fun. So I'm definitely thankful for each and every one of you on a real note. Big thanks to you guys. All right, here we go. I'm going to share this with everybody. Present, share screen. Let's bring it up. Here we go. The Saquon redrawing is here. Jason, did you clarify what you meant, by the way, on this? Ryan says, Thanksgiving stinks. I hope everyone sucks. Come on, Ryan. Jesse G, I'll search you. No, Elijah, you'd have to. No spinach for your boy Big Z. No spinach. I don't need spinach. I don't need kale. I don't need broccoli. None of that. All right? None of that. If I'm going to eat a vegetable, I'll eat like a zucchini squash maybe. Is onion vegetable? Because I love onions. I could eat onions breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Especially when they're fried up. Oh, God. All right, let me see if Jason... The redraw guy claiming to be in the chat. He is in the chat. It's Chris Scott right here. Is that who you're talking about? The guy who's been entered now? Take Nello out. Yeah, you might be right. I might have to remove Nello. Ryan says, I don't give a shit. Make sure my name is in there, Big Z. All right, Ryan. All right. I can't take Nello out. Why would I take Nello out? If he wins again, he's getting another 24 hours. Nello is still a paying member of JAKIB Sports. Sorry, guys. You're going to have to convince me better than that. Dirty Air says, I could remove the winners because nobody's winning twice. That's fair. I could remove the winners. Like Paul Blome, he's a winner. Now I'd have to remember them all. Nello, there's Nello. William Fleming won. You guys think I should remove the winners? I guess it would. Well, no, because if a winner wins, I'm just going to do a redrawing. Brian says he needs that Jalen Hurts #1 jersey. Brian Pumper, what will that be? You'll be the guy on social media who's burning the jersey. Brian, I'm not sending you no Jalen Hurts jersey. You get a Saquon jersey if you win. All right, here we go. Here we go. Let me load this thing up. I'm all over the place. I wasn't expecting to do another giveaway today. All right, here's the names. 247 of you. Chris Scott, Terry Hayes. Terry, I think you were on yesterday because I know you rejoined today, but you were still a member yesterday. And then I guess it dropped off overnight and you had to manually do it. Akbar says, damn, Z, you didn't remove the winners? Anybody who's a member is on there. If a winner wins again, they're not getting another jersey. You can only win once. So, but I guess what is it? What's the difference? Now, Pile Driver, you're not removed. See, Pile Driver can still win a Saquon jersey. Pile Driver, you won a special giveaway. You can still win the Saquon jersey. You were not an original Saquon jersey winner. You won the special week Brandon Graham jersey where you had to be present to win. That's a separate giveaway. Pile Driver, just re-roll for winner wins. That's what I'm going to do. Pile Driver, you're good. You're good. You're good. Yes, it is a serious salmon. This dude is a beast. Look at that thing. Is that a salmon? That doesn't look like a salmon. Yo, Slagger. Slagger, I love you, brother, but you might not know your fish. That's not a salmon, dog. There's no way that's a salmon. If that's a salmon, I'll eat crow right now. But that is not a salmon. That is not a salmon. Pile Driver, please confirm. Is that a salmon? That's a salmon. All right. I'm eating crow. Put up the plate of crow. Put up the plate of crow. Holy shit. All right, here we go. Let me do this because now I'm making myself look dumb. I don't know fish. I don't know. My cousins would be very upset. I have 2 cousins who are maybe some of the best fishermen on planet Earth. They're fly fishermen, though. You got to go check out their pages, Skylar and Nelson Davis. You guys want to know my real cousins, Skylar and Nelson Davis. Incredible fishermen. Sig Lord said that's 100% a salmon. Coho salmon, brother. Sorry, Slagger. Slagger, I'm sorry, brother. I didn't mean to come at you like that. All right, here we go. Start. Who wants me to search their name? We got one winner. One winner. Confirm. I'm doing 3 shuffles. 1, 2, 3. All right, there it is. All right. Does anybody? I'm going to scroll through the names. I'm not going to do the personal searches. It's the same damn list as yesterday. So if I searched you yesterday, you're on here. But I'm going to scroll through nice and slow so you guys can see them. All right. Look for your name. Rashid Mixon, Bob Brown, Eduardo Reza. I haven't seen Eduardo in a couple of days. Seth Shifley. He was in here. He dropped a super chat. Wayne the Pain, Drew Nichols. There's Pile Driver. Dirty Airs in here. Kenny Sprague, Bearded Willie, Philly to Chicago, Jack Straw, love Jack Straw, great guy. Ian East, Miguel Lara, Jason A-Team, there you are, A-Team. Philly D, Jesse G, I know you were looking for your name to be searched, there it is. James Dowgan, SMD Eagles, Marie, Jacob Legend, Marie. Oh, Marie. Oh, Marie. Look at this. There she is. Disputed in real time. SMD Eagles. Disputed in real times. There's the Deep Fried, one of the fan favorites. Deep Fried Coochie. He's on here. Not sure why he came up with that name, but it's pretty funny. Chaos the Filthy. You're right there. I see you looking for your name. Who else wanted me to search? Sig Lord said he likes the confidence that it wasn't a salmon. Yeah, I was confident, but I was wrong. It's classic. Game Time Brian. All right, here we go. Everybody telling. All right, so Jason A-Team wants me to roll the dice. Andrew Hernandez, there you are. You must not know, A-Team. This is Zander time, baby. And when we get an extra day of Zander time, I'm going to milk it as long as I need to milk it. All right. Here we go. Keep rolling. Mark Boogie, Eagle, Abe. There's Abe, Chuck Hutton, Keith Johnson. Keith, you're in here. Park Alexander, Sue Chick, Jarrell Ray. Shout out to Jarrell, one of our great veterans who is deployed right now, everybody. He is listening from afar. He deployed. And a big thanks to Jarrell. A big thanks to Jarrell. Thank you for your service to this nation, and happy Thanksgiving to you if you're listening from afar. Dirty D, I'll search you. Just give me a second, all right? Brian Fleming, there's Brian Fleming. William Fleming, not to be confused with Brian Fleming. What's the skullduggery going on right there? James Carver's in here. Danny D, not Dirty D. There's Nello, our loser, our winner, but our loser. Takeem, my favorite name of anybody is Schmidt Digler. Love that name. Wicked Hebrew, Bleed Green, Sig Lord, Polska, Terry Hayes, Bill Fleming, James Faber, Kenny P, Double M, Niners all damn day, D Hughes. All right, here we go. Anthony Wilson, Jersey Dude, Cody's Nuts. The Nuts are in here. Dank Bird Gang, Nick No Name, Dream Green, Devin Shanahan, Flexing and Steppin'. David Mac Perez already won one, so if he wins, he'll be out. Cody K, old Eagle fan, Suplex City. Suplex isn't back today. He's been giving me a litany of shit about the jersey giveaways. Sydney Family's in here. Joe High's in here. Slagger, there he is. Salmon Slagger is what I'll call him from now on. Dirty D, there you are. See you, brother. You're on here. Riding the bench, Eagles. All right. Brian Garner, Corey Litters, Josh Herman. He already won, Herman. His jersey's on back order. I emailed NFL Shop. I'm like, yo, dude, I ordered this a week ago. Akbar, there he is. Akbar Devine, Q Ball, Elijah Mack. All right. Everybody's on here. Chris Scott, I'm retired. That means more time to watch Jacob, Chris. Thank you for being here. All right, I'm all over the place with this, with these different tabs open on my computer. Just give me a hot second, all right? All right, here we go. All right, now I can see it both. All right, there's the list, 247. Ready? You ready? Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Terry Hayes. Yes. Terry Hayes is a JAKIB Legend member, and I think he's in the chat. I've been waiting for a winner to be in the chat. Terry Hayes is a Legend member. Where is he? Where is he? Terry, I know you're here, Terry. Terry, I know you're here. Come on, Terry. Where is he? I know he's in here. You guys will not make me feel bad about Terry being a winner. And there's no redraw here because I know Terry's going to claim it. Terry was on the show today. No, Keith, this is not must be present to win. But I think Terry Hayes is in here. And he is a Legend member, which basically means he pays $25 a month to be a member just out of sheer support for the channel. So Terry Hayes is a legend. He lives out in the West, out in the Midwest, I believe he lives. So I do not have any cousins in the Midwest, for those who think Terry is my cousin. Terry, congratulations. He logged off, but he will be the winner. And I'm pretty sure that, no, Terry was in here today. Like, I think I got a super chat from Terry, didn't I? Let me look. Terry, I mean, look, he was in here today. Terry Hayes was in here today. He's got an Eagles tattoo. Terry Hayes is a freaking legend. Daniel Belfield, sign me up. Brother, you're not a member, Daniel. So you're out. I'm waiting to see if Terry's on. Uncle Terry is the winner. I like that. Uncle Terry's the guy who gives us the updates on his high school football team. You guys should know that. I was hoping Terry would be in here. Let me. I think I got him on DMs. See if I can DM him real quick. Yo, Terry, you won. I love it. I'm pumped for Terry, man. Terry's a boss. Terry's a great supporter and a boss. All right, that's it. That's it. Terry's your winner. If you guys want me to do the same thing I always do, I will show you. I'll show you his account. 2 months he's been a JAKIB Legend member. Oh, man, he's got a funny-ass video on his page. Let me show you guys his page. He's got a funny video on his page. Terry, you're a baller, and I'm happy you won, brother. Terry Hayes. Look, there he is. Terry Hayes 3151 is the name. He has a video on his channel that has 2.3K views. It says, "Get drunk in 2 minutes." Actually, look, you can see I've already watched it. GTA 5. He must be messing shit up on GTA 5. All right, there's Terry. Get drunk in 2 minutes. Terry Hayes is going to be getting drunk in 60 seconds after he learns he won the jersey. That is great. This is the legendary Terry Hayes, though. So congratulations to you, Terry. Very dope that Terry Hayes is our winner. I was hoping that he would have said something in here, but he didn't. Did I miss any super chats today? Dirty D, you were in there. Redraw dude should be in the chat. He was in here. Dirty D, you didn't get the win. I'm sorry, brother. And look at Daniel Belfield. Yo, Daniel, you're out of here. You're not a member. Yeah, Terry's in here a lot, Chuck. I'm happy you noticed that because I talk to Terry all the time. Me and Terry talk sometimes after the show too. You know, Terry works the night shift, I believe. Terry's a night shift worker. So he might have went to bed is what might have happened. Terry might have went to bed. So I'm pumped he won, though. Thanks to all of you guys for being members and for supporting this channel. It means the fucking world to me. So thank you guys. Ryan, even your ass who constantly comments that somebody or something stinks. James Carver, you don't have that video on that, do you? James Carver. Yo, James. Iron Bowl coming up. Who you got? Because let me tell you. James. This Alabama team is depressing. And I don't want to be that guy. I'm ready for Kalen DeBoer to get fired. He's just not an SEC coach. SEC coaches are different. They have to play the game different. Being in the SEC is different. When I watch Kalen DeBoer, I'm like, this is a Pac-12 guy. He's a Pac-12 guy. Go back out to the West. Get out of here. You don't know what you're doing. Now it's hard to replace Nick Saban, obviously, but shit. All right, that was a lot of fun, man. You're blaming the coach. Interesting. Well, I don't know, handsome hustler. I've watched 15 years straight of going to the playoff and barely losing a game a year. We got 3 losses in 11 games, dude. His roster didn't change that much. Yo, handsome, you're out of here. That's my new favorite thing. Maybe I should have been an umpire. Doug Peterson of Bama. God, you think I'm a Bama fan now? I'll show up to the show every day in Bama merch. Yeah, the Iron Bowl games are legendary, James. I went to a couple too, man. They're nuts. They are very fun. Very fun. I'm balding from you guys, driving me crazy. African Surf. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Go Birds. Thank you, African Surf. That means a lot, man. Thank you for the super chat, and happy Thanksgiving to you. Happy Thanksgiving to all you guys. Brian Pumper, even when you have J Mac cracking up at your supers, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for being a member and supporting the channel. James Carver, thank you. Dirty Air, thank you. Z, you'd be an awesome ump. You know I would, Akbar. Although I don't think I got that vision, dude. I'm telling you. I got glasses this year. Because I've been working on my computer for 14 hours a day for 4 years, and all of a sudden I look up, I can't see shit anymore. So I wouldn't be anymore. I'd need to get that LASIK or something. But I would be an animated ump. That's for sure. I would have been an animal. Yeah, better than Angel Hernandez. That guy stinks, Fleming. All right, I'm getting out of here, man. Good show. A fun show again. I'm happy we got a chance to do another giveaway. Nello, I'm sorry for your loss, my friend, but you're out of here. The rules are the rules. You got 24 hours to claim it. Holly, good to see you in here. I'm happy you're still in here. Holly, I think you put in this morning that you checking in from Utah. Is that what it was? And by the way, are you a female? Because some people, we have one guy who comments like 100 times a day, and it's from his wife's account. And he's like, I don't know how to do I don't know how to do anything on my computer, so I'm just on my wife's account. I'm like, okay. So I thought I was talking back to him or to her, but it's a him. Anyway, we have another great viewer who's a member, Sue Check, her name is, and she's out there in Utah as well. Wonder if you guys know each other. Maybe Sue brought you to the channel. I'm not sure, but I think you put in you're from Slagger. Daniel Jones, the Vikings. Is that confirmed? All right, let me check that out. I'll do a couple extra minutes here. I'll do a couple extra minutes on the fly. Yeah, Johnny Mac nailed that. Johnny Mac nailed that. He said Vikings right away. Daniel Jones to the Vikings. All right, so who's shaking in their boots today? Is Sam Darnold shaking in his boots, or is this just insurance for them? Holly, I see you said, yep. Do you know Sue? Did she bring you into the channel? Give me 1 sec. All right, good stuff. Yeah, Sam Darnold's having a bad morning, isn't he? That's interesting. Danny Dimes. You know, I don't know what to think of Daniel Jones because, like, look at what happened with Saquon. Now, I'm not saying they're the same position, but, like, Saquon Barkley he was good. He wasn't like this insane back in New York because it's fucking New York. Daniel Jones kind of sucked in New York, but is it just New York? Like, could he be competent with a better organization, better roster, better coaching, better all those things? I think it's possible. I think it's possible. Cool, Holly. Thank you, man. Thank you for being here. Not man, woman. She said, I'm a Jersey girl transplanted to Utah. Nice. My girlfriend's a Jersey girl. Maybe we'll transplant to Utah one day. I doubt it, but we do love out west because I'm a big skier, Holly. So we go out west a lot, and recently we've found an appreciation for the West when it's warm out, or even just like fall. You know, it's so beautiful out there. It's insane. I would encourage everybody. Everybody loves traveling, right? They go travel to all these countries. I'm not a world traveler. I don't care to travel. Part of me is just comfortable where I'm at. I don't care, but if you're going to travel, remember, we got a beautiful nation right here. You don't need to leave the nation to see beautiful things. So definitely go and travel out there if it's something you'd want to do. Danny Dimes to the Vikings, though. Interesting. You know, I know the Vikings, what are they, 9-2 too? I don't fear them at all. Like, what are the Vikings? I don't know. Yeah, Brian, Park City's cool, but here's what I'll compare it to. You know, I've been to Montana, I've been to Wyoming and Utah. Park City's really cool, but it's like the New York City of the West. Obviously not at that level, but I mean, Park City's got the whole city. It's like a city in the mountains. You know, you go to Wyoming or Montana, dude, it's remote as hell. You got elk walking by you. It's moose. I mean, it's cool. It's really cool out there. SMD, I couldn't echo that more. Beautiful country. We are blessed to live in. We are absolutely blessed. Jackson Hole is my favorite place I've ever been. I haven't been to Big Sky yet, but my brother went to Big Sky and said he liked it more than Jackson Hole. And we went on a brother's trip to Jackson Hole like 2 or 3 years ago. Insane, Brian. Jackson Hole is insane. You know, I don't know if anybody's a skier in here, but most places you go out west are like resorts where it's like you go to Vail or you go to Park City. They're resorts. They're set up very similar. They're different mountains, obviously, but they're set up as a resort for people to come, tourists to come, people to come ski. You go to Jackson Hole, dude, it's like snow fell on a mountain and you got to make your way down. It is way different. It's way different, Jackson Hole. It's like Breck. Breck is cool. I've been to Breckenridge. I did a long trip to Breckenridge a couple years ago. Yes, Jackson Hole's for legit. Don't go out there unless you know what the hell you're doing. No doubt, Brian. We ripped that 7 days straight, dude. My legs were so sore by the end of that. Unbelievable trip, though. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Danny Dimes goes to the Vikings, which I don't fear the Vikings at all. In fact, I'll bring on the Vikings. Come on. You want to play versus a real team? Bring it on, Minnesota. I don't fear them a little bit. In fact, I remember throttling that team. What did we beat them? Like 38-7 when we went to the Super Bowl in 2017? We beat, 38-7. Akbar says, "Zit, you ever see black people there? I'm not sure if we ski." I got to be honest with you, Akbar. It's sparse. It's sparse. But Akbar, if you want a lesson and you want to come, let's go, brother. I'll bring you out there, and I'll do it with you, man. I will do it with you. I will do it with you. But I can't say that the overwhelming population of skiers is black. No, I cannot say that. I can't say that to you, Akbar. I got to be honest. All right, man. Good stuff, everybody. Thank you all for the support. That's going to do it on today's edition of Birds 365. And a big congrats to Terry Hayes for winning the jersey. Oh, there he is. There he is. Terry Hayes, the jersey winner. I love it. I love it. Terry, welcome in. Yeah, Akbar, I'm too old for that shit. Yeah, you're right, because I'm getting there, Akbar. I'm like 26, and I'm like, I got to be careful with the legs. You know, I don't want to blow out an ACL or something. Handsome says, try the Poconos. You know, Handsome, when you start going out west as a skier, and then you, it was yesterday, Terry, the winner didn't claim their jersey. Winner didn't claim their jersey, so you are the winner of the redraw. But anyway, you go to the Poconos, it's not very good. I'm telling you. I went to the Poconos a couple years ago after being out west, and I was like, this isn't a mountain. This is a hill. It's not even, it's barely a hill, dude. It's barely a hill. Congrats, Terry. I will DM you. I already have your info, so I don't need you to confirm. I know exactly who you are. And I'll get your information. I think I already have your information. Well, I know I have it because you ordered some JAKIB merch, which was very cool of you. But Saquon jersey coming your way, brother. Saquon jersey coming your way. I'll reach out to you on DMs, Terry. I know you just responded to me. I DM'd you a little bit ago. Congrats on the win, brother. And thanks everybody for being here. A lot of fun talk today. I love getting into some fun talk, learning more about you. We were talking last night on our night show about cars and people in there. It was cool. It was cool. I like learning more about the great people. You did the Spartan race. That's cool, Cody K. I did the Spartan race in the Poconos. Those mountains were brutal to run up and down. Skiing might be a breeze. Yeah, skiing is a breeze. Congrats, Uncle Terry Krause. Uncle, I can confirm Terry Hayes and I are not related. But yeah, Cody, you missed it because it was a Tuesday this week. Pat moved it all around because of Thanksgiving. So it was originally Thursday nights. Now he made it Wednesday nights permanently. But yesterday was it was Tuesday this week because of the Poconos. I got to answer this. Whistler. Whistler's where? British Columbia? Brian, I've never been. Never been. I got to get there. I got to get there, though. I hear crazy good things about it. Brian, have you been to Whistler? Have you been to Whistler? Vancouver? Okay. Yeah. I knew it was up there in Canada. Yeah, I try and avoid Canada. I know we got some Canadian viewers. I love you all. But I'm good in the United States of America. Thank you very much. All right, everybody. I'm getting out of here. Terry, I'm happy you checked in, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you, and congrats on the jersey. I'll reach out to you today. Get it ordered, hopefully. I know the Saquon jerseys, they're selling out like crazy. Every time this man goes off, they sell out again. So that's what keeps happening. But I will look today and get it ordered for you ASAP, Terry. Thank you, brother. Thank you all. I can say Zander and I are cousins. Tell them, Terry, they won't listen to me. All right, everybody. Love you all, man. You guys are the best supporters in the world. Thank you all. See you next time on Birds 365.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.